Three, two, one.
Light them up.
I'm Paul.
This is Buck.
This is the Paul and Buck Show.
Hey, the big Buckin deal. Hear us. Download the latest app at paulandbuckshow.podbean.com.
Okay,
Hey,
we're back. We're back.
It's another show.
We got Mr. Paul. Got
Paul.
Buck, Big Buckin deal. Paul and Buck Show. Today we got a guest, a good guest. A lot of people probably know.
Yeah. When you hear the name, you're going to realize who we've got here, and he's an Austinite for sure. Born and raised out here. He's made a good name for the car scene in Austin, and I was fortunate enough to meet him when I was about 17, 18 years old, and got my foot started in sourcing car parts.
Yeah, there you go.
This is before Lone Star Roundup. This is before the big custom car craze hit. We were all, trying to fit in.
Yeah, it's just like what we talked about earlier. Like I said, there wasn't not a lot of money floating around.
No,
it was
small.
just simple, small. When you needed a part, this is where you went, or they knew somewhere where you can get this part. Right? It was not a lot of flashy money. $50 would probably go a long way back in those days, right?
Yeah. So here we are. We've got a good friend of mine, Steve Reyes. You've seen him on Velocity Discovery Channel. Motor Trend.
Iron Resurrection.
That's what he came on.
Yeah.
And like I said, he's done a lot of cool stuff, and so we brought him in to give us a little bit of his upbringing, and we got him into the car world. I know your brother really well, so it's going to be a pretty good podcast, and let's go ahead and introduce him. Who do we've got here today?
Hi, I'm Steve Reyes, born and raised here in Austin, Texas, no other place here.
That's it.
I've been around the car scene my whole life through my dad and all his brothers, sisters, everybody. On my dad's side, my mom's side, their family was ranchers, farmers, and now kind of full circle doing a little both.
And you're right off of 183.
183 south of FM 812. We're right on the highway, Reyes Salvage and Towing, Superior Towing.
There you go.
We recycle, buy scrap metal, do a lot of different things for the community. We've been doing it. My dad's reached out a lot to different fire departments, policing agencies, movies, everything, So.
Yeah. Hell, I was fortunate enough to go one time to the recycle place with you guys, and they just literally just pick up the stuff, and it was off the beds, man. But that was cool. I'm like, damn, I need to do this one day. Man, procrastinator. I don't do that. I don't ever do any of that. So that's cool, man. So you want to start the first question?
No. I like the history, and I just want to go ahead and continue with what you're saying. Is that so? As far back as you can remember, with your dad and your family, the cars was always the scene, right? That was always the thing, right?
Yes,
You're always
the cars.
interested.
Yeah, my grandfather, Henry Reyes, he had Superior Towing back in the day and a body shop. Used to be on Riverside and Congress.
What year are you talking about?
Back in the 50s, early 50s.
There you go.
Okay.
And back then, and I asked my dad, why didn't Grandpa use Reyes' name on his trucks? He said, well, back in the day, you couldn't get business that way. It was a lot of racial things.
Of
and
course.
Yeah. Segregation.
So what he did is all his tow trucks, the 50 model Chevrolet 3/4 ton trucks, 1 tons, they were all painted black and white like DPS and had Superior Works painted on the doors. Yeah. And he had nothing but white guys driving them.
That's funny.
Did he have it? It was first come, first served.
He worked it, man.
Did he know one of the popular names back in the day in the towing business was a guy named Waldo?
Yes,
Harper.
Waldo Harper.
Did he know? Did you work with those guys?
I think he was a little bit before them time.
Okay, wow, even further back. Waldo was early '60s, '50s.
Yeah. And
wow.
My grandfather had a body shop ran by a lot of his black friends that were named the Wheelers, and they were real good guys. And, so he would bring the cars back to his impound yard or body shop, and the Wheelers and a lot of our relatives, which were Hispanics, would work on them.
And what was that?
It was on Riverside on Congress. It was a big body shop back then. It's torn down, and there's other places there.
It was on the corner.
It was on the corner, yes.
Okay.
It was on the corner.
Somebody told me there was a shop there. Wow, I didn't know it was you guys.
And that was my grandfather's shop, and I think he had probably maybe 6, 8 wreckers, and they were all, like I said, painted. Yeah, and, he was... going out there, but back in the day, first one on the scene, them guys would fight for cars, do whatever. And
well, it's kind of still like that. Well, regulated a little bit.
It is, but in a different way. So
of course,
that's
cool.
So he said he had to do it, and then, he had the guys doing the body work, and usually when some of the racist people, unfortunately back in the day, would show up. They see these minorities working on it.
Right. Chicanos, what?
The work was already getting done.
Yeah.
And so my dad's been around that because of his dad, and then, I just enjoyed cars, and my grandfather on my mom's side was more of a rancher and farmer, and back when we were little, our spring break we're going down to South Texas to go work on the ranch, and then in the summer, a lot of us would go and
see. I'm from South Texas. Well, grew up there for a very, very short period of time, and then we moved over here because, when my uncles were getting out of school and all that stuff, the first thing they did was we got to move to Austin. So you guys were going to work the fields over there. We're trying to get away from.
We had a bunch of boy cousins, and they were all about our age, and get out there, start picking, driving trucks. That's why I learned to drive. My grandfather said, "You want to learn to drive?" So I was sitting. I didn't know what it was back then. It was a big truck. It was like a 4.5-ton flatbed. And he had different orchards, tangerine, navels, ruby red, and in the center he had the split, whatever was in season, tomatoes, corn, watermelon. So he said, well, Steve, you get in here and drive this truck. And it was a standard. So he goes, you push this up. When the guy yells, you let go of this and go forward. And, and it was probably 110 degrees down there in South Texas. And I'm sitting there thinking I'm doing something, not knowing any better.
You met my brother, right? My brother would play some dirty jokes, man, so I wouldn't, to take care of me. He didn't want to, watch me. He says, hey, I want you to put your foot on that brake. And don't get off of it, man, or the truck's gonna roll. So here I am, just holding on to the damn brake. Hey,
the whole time,
don't move, man. It's coming back down. It's horrible, man. But so you did that too, man. That's interesting. Did you ever know that? I think it's Crystal City, man. It was known as the king of the capital of spinach, and they had a Popeye. So I don't know.
Really?
I
didn't know
to this
that,
day, they still have a big old Popeye
that's cool.
figure. I don't know, whoever was fortunate enough to work there, I guess you would know that they had the Popeye was their symbol. And anyway, so I thought that'd be pretty cool. Where'd you guys work at? What city or town?
It was Alamo, Texas. There by San Juan. Yeah, he had his house there, and it was pretty neat because when we would go, his neighbors would come and they would butcher a cow to feed all my cousins and everybody to feed us while we were there. A month, a week, however long we were there, and of course, we would work from sun up to sundown, but we were kids that, we didn't know any better. We enjoyed it,
That's what you did,
running around. And, we loved when they would irrigate the fields because they would open up the irrigation lines and canals. We would go fishing down there. And then we would stand by where the water would come pumping out, catfish and snakes occasionally would come popping out, but they would go down. We'd run down and, that's what we'd do. Let me break out to the story. Arlie and I were in my grandmother's, and it was late when something smelled real good, and we couldn't see over the big pot, and something smelled good. So Arlie said, well, get on that chair and look. So I got up on the chair and looked. I started stirring. Of course, Arlie wouldn't do nothing. He was always like, do this, do that. So I got up there
in a minute.
So I'm stirring it up, and then Arlie finally got up and looked. He goes, what is it? And then as I was stirring it, we looked, a catfish head, just the head popped up, and like, oh, shit,
There was one time I looked in a pot, man, I regret. Dude, the freaking pig head was in there, and the eye was just staring. I was like, what the? And just.
But a lot of times we didn't know we ate it, and back then everything would utilize off the animals, and they fed everybody there, and we enjoyed it and had a good time, and then. We barbecue and do whatever. We get that fresh corn if it's growing. They'll be cooking it while we're out there picking it or whatever. And then
I can still smell. I don't know if you ever went rabbit hunting.
Oh yes,
that raw rabbit, for that wild. Dude, it's still stuck in my nose.
Yeah, we were rabbit hunting and also armadillo. We would throw a little bit of gas down inside the hole.
And fly out.
Yeah, they come running out. Either rabbit or snake or armadillo.
You didn't know what was gonna pop out of there.
Yeah, exactly.
I got toads coming
You're there
out
with bats waiting, whatever came out, or axe handles.
Whatever.
Yeah, but that was way back in the day,
No, it's time to come in is when you see the bats come out. You're like, oh, time to go inside.
Us, we didn't know what the crop dusters were back then.
Oh, shit, from behind it.
Yeah. They're coming down and they're cropping, dusting their fields. And we tell my uncles that were older, which are, back then they were probably in their 20s, 30s. You know, we're a lot younger,
right.
And we're like, "What's that? Oh, you got to watch out. Them airplanes pick up kids and take them to Mexico." So, you know, we were scared because we were right by the border.
Funny. Yeah.
You know, so we go run and hide under the orange trees.
They're coming to get you.
And, you know, they never told us. You know, they laughed about
hunting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Those guys would fly so low, man. I didn't think they could see me, and then you know I would wave up, and then they'd look down like what, and then wave back down at me. I'm like, oh damn, they can see me.
Yeah, but you know, we thought they were there because they were diving down. And said, why are they coming down? You know, we didn't know. You know, we were city boys back then. You know,
yeah.
You know, we didn't know they were dusting the crops, and that went on for years. You know,
that's funny, man. Yeah, my brothers, they like the bug kind of bit them, you know, to do that over there. And then they like nagged my dad, you got to take us to California, you know, where they really do this stuff. And my dad's like, are you nuts? Crazy. But he took them over there because they thought that if they worked in California, the pay was better. Yeah. And all my cousins and their friends, boy, they would come back at the end of the summer, man, with
big money,
with Dodge Challengers and all these Super Bs, all this badass, you know, car stuff. And well, I mean, it was like, damn, my dad don't let us go over there. So that one day they thought, man, they came back and they realized. Yeah, it was the hardest work they've ever done. They didn't come back with
butt off in them fields. The real workers out there.
Yeah.
You know, they're out there.
Nobody's gonna take their jobs. That's hard work.
So that was the end of that, and they moved. They, you know, a lot of my brothers, they're like, well, we're just gonna get a job at Motorola. You know, they're Motorola, and
that's when it was coming up.
Yeah, so they just moved over here, and actually, my brother Tony, he ended up working at a lot of families, Hispanic families worked at TXI. Yep. And that's where he moved, and my dad followed, and shit, that was you know, I moved into y'all's world over here in Del Valley, you know, 183 area. So how long have you been there on 183?
My dad actually traded my grandfather on my mom's side. Mm-hmm. You know, two houses that we had in Austin, one off of Frederick Street and one off of East Austin on Garden Street.
Okay.
He traded him to both those houses back in '75 for that property. Okay. Because my dad wanted to build a shop to paint cars and work on them. My dad painted houses and cars, you know.
Gotcha.
And that's what he did. He worked for Breckenridge, you know, pretty much most of his life, you know. He worked at Superior Dairies back in the day. When we were little, man, that's what we loved it.
The milk place?
Yeah, right there on Cesar Chavez where IHOP is. There was 35.
There was a story, man, that the famous guy Hans that everybody knows about here in Austin. Yeah. Apparently, he got hit by a milk truck, and that must have been one of those milk trucks that busted him, and you know got him famous because of that. But that was the story always that he got hit by a milk truck.
Yeah, we'd go pick up my dad, and he'd come out with ice cream and chocolate milk, and that was dairy, like, you know, young kid back in the day. You know, we were living in East Austin back then.
Funny, man.
You know, we loved that, and then he took me to, I think it was Ironworks was still there across the street, but they did more blacksmith, but they had a bar in there too, and also, I don't know if they were doing barbecue like a little kitchen
they do,
back in the day. And,
are they still even there?
They're still there.
I mean, all the buildings are around them.
They're still holding the ground.
They're still holding, man. Like I said, that's one of the few that are.
Very few.
Yeah, sometimes I couldn't make it back from lunch, man, when I go get barbecue there, man. I'm like, I think I'm going to leave early, man. I'm tired of shit, you know. Like, brisket done got me all loaded up. But no, that's like the best barbecue.
It's real good, and they're consistent all the time. And they're still reasonable. Price. Yeah, they had a big thing on the news a couple years back, and I went and I ended up meeting the owner of the news. And I said, look, I saw you on the news this morning. I want to make sure you just didn't have that for a TV. And I said, I'm letting you know. I said, I came from Lockhart area.
Barbecue capital of Texas. Yeah.
You know, for me to drive out here, and you know,
he probably wouldn't cut the best.
Yeah, he gave me a couple slices, and we talked. You know, and I went back like a week later, took some other friends, and he saw me. He goes, "Oh, you're back like you said you would." I said, "Yeah." I said, "I want to make sure."
Don't give me that thin slice.
It was consistent. Kept it consistent.
Now we always loved it because we live right there on Old Torf. Yeah. So every now and then, if it wasn't RJ Pitts there on Congress.
Oh, we love there on Friday payday. We get that bag of burgers.
Dude, man. So if it wasn't that, we'd go down to Richard Jones. And it was sad to find out, man, that he had passed away. And that's why the place closed down. But, I mean, it was that or go downtown and pick it up. Yeah. Because Bill Millers did not cut it, man.
Yeah, no, it didn't.
It didn't cut it. They were on Lamar, but, I mean, everybody knew, man.
Yeah, Richard Jones was the place to go. If you were from Austin, that's where you go.
That was the spot.
You know, everybody, hard-working, blue-collar dads that got paid, moms got paid. You know, you feed everybody. Yeah, you go wait in line, but it was well worth the wait. Nobody argued. It just
Shit.
You knew what you were getting, and you were there for it.
I hear you.
Damn. I miss South Austin. You still live there, man. I moved, but hell, Austin's not the same anymore anyway.
Yeah.
But being that Austin's not the same, you know, it did progress. It did become, I guess, almost the capital of car customizing roadsters. I don't like calling them rat rods. Everybody got that terminology screwed up.
Yeah.
And rat rods is
way before
is a rusty, put together car with whatever goes. And traditional rides are actually a guy who's going to build their car and piece it correctly from the era.
Yes.
And don't insult him by giving him an LS motor.
Yeah.
To put it in those cars. Yeah. So you grew up, you just kind of, you fell into that. Because when I met you, it was like 89, 90. And you already had a chopped Merc back then.
Yes, I chopped that top myself.
You were already doing that. Yeah. You already had, you know, everybody was, it wasn't billet, but I can't remember what the car club was called, and these, you know, it was a club of guys with hot rods, you know, roadsters and coupes and you know, nice cars, and you already had one. You already had a T-bucket that was already set up, a few shells laying around, and Camaros. Yeah. You had a lot of Camaros.
I was ahead of my day and not even realizing it.
Exactly. I mean, I remember
people were throwing away. I was picking up.
you were collecting it. So I remember I stepped out the back of the high school, and there's these two dudes, man, in a pro stock paint job '67 Camaro. You had the big N50 15s in the back. It was raised in the front, Craigers. Standard. I mean, the shit was like, damn, you know. And I walk out, I'm like, who are these dudes, man? And so I'm talking to you guys, and then here comes your cousin, and he walks out. I'm like, these are your cousins? He's like, yeah. And that's how I met you guys, and you know, I went down to y'all's place, and damn, I was just floored with the amount of vintage stuff, hot rod vintage stuff that you guys were just
and that stuff you had collected, of course.
Yes.
In a short time, probably.
Yeah, I would pick it up because we moved out to the country, and you know, but before that, you know, I started driving. You know, when I started driving, I knew what I wanted. I couldn't afford nothing. I mean, I bought a GNX convertible for $25. I had the 440 in it, and it was missing a spindle, but I had no way to get it. The old lady sold it to me for $25 out in Creedmoor off of Grape Road.
Wow.
And it sat there for like 8 years, and I would go by and check on the car. She goes, son, you got a way to get your car? And I said, no, go ahead and sell it. But I didn't know, you know, back then a car was a car. But it was a convertible and a GNX, and, you know, I didn't know nothing about the pistol grip shifters and all that. You know, I was still learning about cars, but it was a cool car. My first car that I really wanted was a 70 Mach 1 that they had up at Thoroughbred Farms off of 973 by 812. And the guy, it was gray, had the Boss black stripes with 302, the louvers on it.
I bet somebody's going to remember that, man. They're going to be like, dude,
and it sat there forever. And I finally went up there. I rode my bike up there. I was probably 15 years old, and I told that guy, I said, hey, do you want to sell the car? He goes, yeah, $800. Bring your dad.
See, that was,
Bring your dad.
Yeah.
Bring your dad.
And that's what he said. So then I took my dad. I hauled ass back home as fast as I could. I probably set some world record. And then, so we went back, and the motor was all there, and the guy said, I'm not a mechanic. I don't know. I just want $800. You know, you buy it. And I told my dad, I want that car. He goes, Steve, but it doesn't run. I said, well, I don't drive on the street anyway, so it don't matter. I said, I just want the car to sit there because it had the big tires and, you know, the Kragers on it, you know. And I said, it just looks cool. I want all my friends to know what I got. And, you know, he goes, no. And then next thing I know, you know, a couple days later, he's showing up. And Leroy Brooks, he was known for building carburetors. You know, at Butch Lake days, you know. Back in the older days, he was the best carburetor builder. And everybody knows him. You know, I think he drank Schlitz beer, had the red rag hanging out of his pocket. And, you know.
Cliche, that's it, man.
Yeah, drinking. So he showed up, and I met Leroy a couple times through my dad, you know. And I was like, Dad, how do you know these hot rod guys? Because he drove race cars back in the old Speedorama.
And we're going to get into that,
And, you know, so then, you know, but he saw me when I was little growing up, and, you know, and then he was working over at Special Automotive back in the day with Lee Mackin, you know, another race car legend, you know, Roundy Round. You know, and so what we did my dad, he's driving in, and my dad had an old two-tone green Ford, that we, all of the kids tore the shit out of, and it still survived, But he's coming in, and I see this car. I didn't know what it was, but it was my first car, a '69 Camaro. It was avocado green with green interior.
Ooh,
he rebuilt the 250 6-cylinder with the power glide.
Yeah, I think y'all the ones that told me green's bad luck. I'm like, huh? After I bought some green, and
because that's what I was told, and I was just a kid. So, and he bought it for like $500 or $600. He goes, look, and then Leroy said, look, boy, you don't know nothing about cars. This is what you need.
Damn.
It's plain and simple. And all I knew is it drove. That's all I cared about, And back then, gas was probably 30 cents a gallon.
Right, yeah.
And I'd go fill it in. I was still selling soda water bottles back in the day, and just, making money and picking up my friends. Well, hey, I got $1. Well, heck, that's $3 or $4.
What do you have, like a lemonade stand off of 183? Hey, stop.
A dollar gas will get you shit at least about half a day.
Yeah, exactly. So I'd pick up my friends that didn't have cars, and because I had a hardship license. We were out in the country. And, I was telling all my brothers, we all had hardship, as we came of age. Oh, we got to drive around. We got to do
school.
And we would get in events, after the school. What is it? I can't even think. Curriculars after school.
Extracurricular program. That
so that way,
PBS
special. we would say, here we got band, football, track, whatever.
I gotta drive, man.
So we can drive. And then, so that's, that was, our thing, because we learned that from the older guys. How do we get in? So, hey, this is what you need to do. So.
Did you ever go hang out over? It was in front of the Dove Valley High School. Is at the Austin Burger or something like that?
Mr. Gaddy's.
It was a Mr. Gaddy's right there. And the cars would load up, man. I mean, it's like the baddest.
It was like a drag,
dude. It was center lines everywhere.
And then they would go race on Hergots back there behind. Back in the day, Hergots and Decker Lane.
Yeah, Decker Lane and Hergots. Yeah, I heard of Hergots. I never went there.
Yeah,
but I do remember.
And then we'd load up and go to Southside Theater on Ben White there. Ben White and 35. Go to.
How come y'all didn't go to that movie theater, the one off of Burleson? No.
The rated. We weren't old enough. The Rebel Drive-In.
The Rebel Drive-In.
All you gotta do is go park on the side of the road.
Oh man, you pass by, your parents say, "Don't look over there," huh?
Oh yeah.
Some shit going on. Seriously, man, a nipple pointing at you.
Actually, I ain't gonna lie, I went there. We went in a 74 Courier Ford pickup. That's where we went in. My buddies paid and said, well, let's go. I didn't know what it was. They said, let's go to that theater. I said, you got a radio? I said, what do you need a radio for? You got to put a wire on your antenna. I said, man, I don't have it.
Shit.
And then he said, well, they said you can clip it onto your trim. I said, I don't have trim. It's a Ford Courier. So we went, and I said, well, shit, you don't need to listen. You can see what's going on. So we were there for about 30 minutes. I said, man, this ain't for me.
Man, I'm on my way to my uncle's. I'm on my way to my uncle's on Fridays. We knew, man, who was gonna, the next Monday we knew who went to the movie theater, because all these hot rods, man, would be still going in there. You're like, damn, I didn't know he goes to the movie theater. So we'd be giving them shit. They're in high school. We're like in seventh. I was like in 6th, 7th grade, and I said, man, I seen your brother Chevelle turn in there, man.
Everybody's borrowing each other's cars so they wouldn't see, hey, that was them. But
that was funny,
the cars still showed up out there, and then they built Lockheed right behind it.
That's true.
And all the guys want to work night shift.
You can see the movie through the
Harley worked there at Lockheed.
That's why he's messed up.
That's why I think that's the only reason he went to go work there.
You say porn, he's like, huh? What?
I don't know. Give me something. Janitor's job. I clean windows so you can look out the window.
He knows all the names to every movie that came out. Star Wars? Nah, I don't remember.
Nothing else.
There was a bunch of dudes. I think those people that worked at AMD could probably even catch a sneak peek out of that, man. But that was a problem, man.
Because that was back when what was that? MTV was coming out. Cinemax. You'd have to go to the Cinemax channel, wait for 30 minutes to get a blurry picture to catch a boob on there.
Not that one. That was plain freaking clear, man. It was a squirrel, some hot dog. You had to keep your mom would hit me over the head. Don't you look? Pat. You was like, I didn't look, mom. But it was pretty clear of what was going on there, and it was completely legal. But
I mean, it was like how, because that came up from a different episode. That theater is like, so that's it's got some sentimental or some history there in
History,
Austin, South
man,
Austin.
Austin,
Yeah.
South Austin
And then some
history.
drag racing went on just a little bit.
Yeah,
on
right
the other
around
side.
there.
So you could catch a movie and drag racing.
Yeah,
We're gonna race now right now,
yeah.
bro. Hold on.
They would go out on
Yeah.
183 past our place because
right
back in the day, once you got out there was nothing else. You
Yeah,
got
that
south
was
towards
it.
Mustang Ridge.
Yeah, it was
You
open.
know, yeah,
Country.
it was open. Yeah.
That's
And,
funny,
you
man.
know, us running the records back then, we knew where the cops were, what little they had back in
Oh, shit,
southeast
that's
Travis
right,
County.
yeah.
So they would say, hey, they're at a wreck, a domestic disturbance back in the day. You know, y'all, it's clear out here. Y'all start running. You know,
Hey, we can catch it. And then,
Yeah.
but they finally went to like a secure private channel, and you could never hear them. But for the longest, you could just hear them over
was
the.
open,
yeah, but we had access through the
'Cause you're a
Oh,
record,
you
you're a
did?
record.
Yeah,
because of the towing
Record,
service.
Secure
You know,
channel.
we knew
Damn.
what programs to log on to. You
So
know,
you
when
knew.
they went digital, I mean, we stayed up because back in the day, if there was, unfortunately, like, you know, every year they would, at the end of every New Year, they would post the fatality wrecks, like citywide, Travis County and citywide. Well, from 290 from Manor and 35 East,
That was
if
bad.
there was, let's say, 40 fatalities in Travis County, and there on our sector, they would break it up, which is a Charlie, you know, sector. If there was 30 or let's say 20 wrecks in there, we got 18 or 17 out of the 20 wrecks
Wow.
of
That's a high
fatality.
percentage, yeah.
Yeah, and that's all we did, mainly collisions. We didn't do any motor clubs, and
Oh, okay.
you know, I went to fatalities where, you know, I had relatives involved, friends that I grew up with,
Yeah.
and you know, there's nothing I didn't see. You
That
know,
Lockhart
you know.
Road, you called it Lockhart Road 183
Lockhart Highway,
after the highway, you know, after the airport, you know, it was past the Air Force Base, you know, that's
Yeah,
what it's
Bertram
known.
Airport.
Bertram,
Yeah.
yeah.
You know, speaking of that, you know, I got to see the space shuttle there. Some
Oh, well, yeah,
F-14s.
back in the day, we would watch it land
President,
and fly over
yeah.
our place, all the
Yeah,
it was all
presidents,
kinds of
everyone.
cool shit.
Before the airport, it was Bertram
Yeah.
Air Force.
The
Air
But
Base.
there was some-
Thunderbirds come out and perform, you know.
you just sit out there, man. Like the whole family of South Austin, East Side, was
Yeah.
just on the side of that grassy. I mean, Blue Bonnets pick
Yeah,
them up. Ain't nobody
yeah.
gonna see shit.
Yeah.
You know, you just
Yeah.
watch the show. I
And
mean,
then they're out there cooking food.
That's true, that
you know,
tailgate
all the
party, man.
Hispanic
Tailgate,
guys,
yeah.
Tailgate,
it was.
man.
Everybody knew
Yeah.
somebody there.
Yeah.
I hear you. That,
You
that,
know,
that was
and
the
all
thing.
that stuff was free. It was entertainment, but you know, you didn't have no internet, no MySpace,
That-
or
No.
That's it.
You
That's
know,
it.
no,
Yeah, it was
that
free.
was
It was
it.
something that you had to do to
Yeah.
spend your time.
Yeah, entertainment,
It was
you know.
entertaining. It was free.
Yeah. So that road, though, speaking of you being in the tow business, that road had a lot of fatalities.
Yes,
every 2-3 miles, man, there was a cross and flowers.
Exactly.
You know, because some weird shit would
Yeah.
always go down where a car would roll or
Yeah,
something.
yeah, it's like there's like you could pass up nothing. There's one tree and 5 cars hit that one tree.
That
like
one,
was a big
how did
match.
they manage to hit that one?
Yeah.
Like one time we were down on Riverside where the Mini Max and Dairy Queen was, and every other Friday, man, my dad'd be like, hey, you know, let's go Dairy Queen, right? We're like, yeah, sure. So we pulled out Dairy Queen, and as we're going down towards the lake, man, dude, like 6 Oldsmobile 442, man, just blew by us so fast, man. And then all those cop cars, woo, woo, and then all we found out later on that night was that dude fucking ate it somewhere along that stretch, man, by your house. And but they chased his ass. I mean, I was like, damn. And I didn't, we didn't find out until I got to school the next day. But there was always some interesting shit, man, where somebody was always trying to get away. They'd always hit that road, man, thinking they could outrun the cops.
Yeah.
And,
Bad stretch.
and but it is a clean, straight stretch. So,
Straight, but it was just a two-lane road, wasn't it?
not
Like the
4.
183?
It's 4.
Yeah,
It's
4.
4, 2 going. You know, each way. But yeah, there was always something crazy. But like I said, it was country road. Now it's like every quarter mile there's a damn convenience store. There's even a Dollar General. Shit, there's all kinds of you can't.
Yeah, speaking of chases, we used
Yeah.
to go to the lake parties back in the day.
Yeah.
Arlie had his 68 Firebird.
I remember he showed
We
me a
just
picture.
painted it,
I
yeah.
said, I don't believe you. He says, no, this is my car. I'm
We,
like,
we were
that's too
coming
nice.
back from the lake,
Oh,
and
yeah.
all our, we had everybody had those 6x9 Cracos.
Yeah, Cracos. Yeah, the little.
Yeah,
I had
so-
that little amplifier
Yeah,
shit.
so the little amplifier, booster, whatever.
Booster,
Yeah,
yeah.
booster.
And we were coming back. Of course, we were minors drinking beer, coming back from the lake party
Yeah,
out
yeah.
there. And Artie's speedometer didn't work, so we're hauling ass. He had one of my roundy round motors in there,
Yeah.
and for my race car when
Yeah,
I ran
yeah.
circle track because he blew his motor up for racing out at Hergoss or Decker Lane. So anyway, we're coming back, and there's a cop, and
Yeah.
Arlie didn't have a driver's license right then, you know.
God.
So, and you know, we're coming back, and somewhere on the other side of Dripping Springs, you know, or wherever coming in from the lake, where we were coming from, you know, the cop turns his lights on. Arlie goes, "What do I do?" I said, "Step on it," you know. So he took off, you know. And I think Renee was with us in the back, so. We're hauling ass, and you know, back then they just had the radios, you know, two-way radios. So we're going, and there's another cop. I guess they radioed ahead. He's waiting for us. So they clocked us the first time going 98 miles an hour. You know, coming, you know, through the hill country, coming back. You know, but we were the only car out there other than the trooper that was out there. So then we get further
Speed
in.
limit was 55. I
Yeah,
guess,
45.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, we get further up, they clock us at 114 again. And then, you know, so we're still coming into town, and we're almost into Oak Hill.
Oh, shit.
And then, you know, we're on that last straightaway coming in where they clock him at, I think, 130 something.
Yeah.
And we still got, I said, he can still, I said, slow down, we're getting into town. You know, back then, Oak Hill, you know, that's a country, but you're getting into town.
You're walking in.
And I said, oh, shit, there's a wreck up there. You better slow down. They had everybody and their mother out there.
Blocking y'all.
Yeah, blocking us up. You know, we didn't know. We're like,
damn, they were waiting for
you.
y'all.
And we're there, and you know, they're all standing there. And so he said, "What I do?" I said, "Shut it down. We can't do nothing."
Hey, they were the real the 70 Dodge Challenger movie. What was it called? Vanishing Point.
Vanishing Point.
Reyes Point.
So you know, and we had beer with us, so we pass them back to Renee. He lifts up the speakers, and we throw them in the trunk.
Oh,
yeah. So you know, that's how we got rid of the beer back in the day. You know,
that's funny.
Hey, you know, what smells of beer? And said, "Yeah, we're coming for a party. Everybody's drunk, so we're leaving."
Yeah,
and that's what we're coming.
Everybody's drunk, so we're leaving.
And you know, and then he goes, "Well, I still smell beer real strong." I said, "Yeah, they were throwing beer cans at us because you can smell the beer."
Damn.
You know.
Yeah.
And you know, his Camaro, his Firebird, Arlie just painted a bright yellow with I think a white top, and it's. I mean, it was the brightest.
Wait, what year was that one? That
was at 67 or 8.
67 or 8.
Okay, yeah. There was one that he had.
He
pearl
had a
white.
couple of
pearl white.
Matter of fact, a manager at HEB bought it and still
has
that car.
He still has it?
Yes,
I remember
saw it the other day, and it's still pearl white. Arlie painted that one too.
I went to his house. He goes, "Hey, because I met him at HEB, and he goes, man, I can't get this car to run right." I said, "Why? What's wrong with it?" He goes, "Man, it doesn't run right." And so I said, "Well, open the hood," and it's a 454.
Yeah.
And it's pretty nice, but he's got a little 600 carburetor on it.
Yeah.
I said, "That's your problem." I said, "You need something bigger." And he goes, "Well, you want to drive it?" I said, "No, just get a bigger carburetor, man." And so I never went back, you know, but I knew I would always see his car right there, you know, at the HEB.
Yeah, at the HEB, right there, William Cannon.
Yeah, and then one day I'm at your house, and here you coming up. And I'm like, "What are you coming over here for?" He's like, "Oh, I just bought that Firebird." I said, "Yeah, that's a good idea, man, because that you got way too much motor." But yeah, he had like a 610 lift solid cam in it. He drove it like that everywhere, and that's about what I had in my motor. I'm like, damn, how does he drive this freaking car every day like that? But yeah, he put a bigger carburetor. He put it in that Firebird. I mean, it was one of the nicest Firebirds I had ever seen, and I think maybe that's where that 4-speed came from. My first 4-speed.
Yeah, because it was standard, and Arlie switched it out and he was running a Power Glide with an adapter or something. We were running Vega converters back then. You know,
10-inch
we couldn't afford stall converters, and the old guy said, "Hey, run this."
A Vega converter.
And we listened to everything, whether it was bullshit or not, because we didn't know any better.
Put it on.
You know, but we tried it. If it worked, it worked. If it didn't,
man,
that
was the thing.
And them guys said, "Man, y'all boys are crazy. I never would have did that." Well, you told us to do it. Well,
that's the way you do it.
You know, so.
Now that pressure plate was killing me, man, on 6th Street, man. Just holding that.
That's why he took it out, because that's where everybody went.
Dude, I had the biggest calf.
One leg,
steering wheel like this. And
I still know where that 4-speed and all that. It's in a pearl white El Camino that this guy has. He polished it all up real nice and put it in his car, and I'm like, yeah, man, that's kicking my ass, man. It's not streetable. That shit is not streetable. So talking about that shit not being streetable, you guys. So Austin is known for the car world back then, Roundy Round. And so one name that always comes up is Speedorama. Then it was Longhorn Speedway.
Speedorama originally.
Originally.
Yeah.
That's
Austin
50s,
Speedway,
40s,
Speedorama,
50s. Yeah.
And Longhorn Speedway.
And it was right off of
183 down the road from us.
Yeah, my sister lived in that neighborhood, which there's another guy that we know, Manny. He had his Mustang there. And that's the first dude that I ever met who was running nitrous back then. And we went for a ride. And anyway, a whole new story. But every Friday and Saturday, you could just hear the cars. Wow, it was a short little track, but man, all night long, and it wasn't even bad to our ears because it was just
like music.
Can I go there? No, you can't, man. There's too much drinking going on. There's gonna be some fights, Yeah,
and that's what it was back in those Speedorama days.
You had to walk by like 9:30. Okay, time to go. People are starting to throw beer cans at those. They're pissed off.
The drivers where they were fighting in the stand. That's my cousin.
Dude,
uncle, sister.
I remember there was always this one, and I didn't find out that it was actually that dude Waldo, or it was somebody. It was a black and gold Camaro, and that dude was like always
running
winning
circles around.
Man, he was always winning people. And then I remember one time somebody got pissed off. Man, they actually went through the X and slammed into the other car. This is real shit. It really happened. Here I am, like 10 years old, like. My brother's like, hey, you think we should go? Nah, let's watch a little more. Then we see. So you see a Budweiser can go flying. You're like, okay, time to go. So you were heavy into that. Cause I remember I'd go over there on Fridays or Saturdays.
Arlie was doing a lot of the y'all street racing.
Yeah, he was. But you were roundy round.
And I was roundy round, and none of us could afford shit. But I was the one hustling, and Arlie was doing a lot of the motor work. And we would learn stuff together. He would go hang around the hot rod guys, and they would do this, do that, and then my roundy round, and we were just combining them together.
Right.
And I would go pick up junk cars, and I didn't have a trailer, whatever. My first trailer I bought for $50. It was a homemade mobile home trailer. A guy had it with the old mobile home axle and the mobile home tongue on it. He goes, "You're gonna need a special ball." Back then it was 2 5/16.
Wow.
Nobody knew what the hell that was. It was either 1 7/8 or a 2-inch ball. So he gave me. I went and I said, "Well, the tires are flat." He goes, "You need a title." She goes, "Boy, out here in the country, there's an older white guy. He was probably 60 years old, busting tires with an axe pick.
God damn.
And he said. I said, "Well, you don't have a compressor. I was gonna put air." He goes, "I'm gonna show you something. It's gonna be a valuable lesson your whole life."
Fire in there. Something?
Yeah,
he lit it up.
He got some gas and put it inside the hole. And before I could say what's gonna happen, he lit it and kicked it, and it aired up. He goes, "If I put a gauge, it's gonna be almost right on the right pressure." He goes, "The fire will suffocate out." And so he aired up my tires. I gave him $50, and then it was all rotted on wood, so I'm riding around getting the old street signs, the construction signs,
laying them out,
flipping them upside down where you couldn't see the orange and white to make my trailer thing. So,
you gotta do what you gotta do, right?
Yeah, pulled a lot of street signs.
That old man, he lived out in Niederwall, out there going out 21, 183 and 21 towards
A to Z Auto Part or A to Z
Salvage. No, that was before. That's a different story. I helped Window get that.
God damn. No shit. We'll get to that one.
Yeah, so anyway, I would go out there and, the guy was, doing junk, hauling junk. And I was like, how do you pick up cars with no wheels? I said, because everyone they give me don't have any wheels, because back in the day, people took them off, put them on trailers, other cars, you utilize what you had. He goes, "You need a piece of pipe and a jack and a come along." I said, "What's that?" I knew what a jack was. So he goes, "You jack it up, put some rims in the back where you can get the front, get that pipe and throw it under there, and you just use a come along, get you to them, because one's always going to bust." And he goes, "And when you get in trouble, you put the jack on the tongue of the truck and the trailer and jack it up." He was teaching me a lot of his old tricks and helped me out a lot. So back then I was probably weighing 140. I was built back then because, I was out there jacking cars all day long.
I had some friends that were just.
And but I didn't know any better. But people were giving me cars. And they would go, "Oh, I tried to get that car, but I didn't have a trailer." Everybody our age, they started getting them. So I'm the one, and then. I had so many. I had like 80 cars. And my dad said, "What are you gonna do? You got so many."
He was on like in his mid-20s, and I show up, and it's a private salvage.
Yeah, exactly. Right
cool
down the highway.
Cool shit. Yeah.
And it was all class. It was stuff that I wanted. But I didn't know I wasn't getting junk that was free. It was I was getting Camaros, Chevelles, Impalas, cool pickups,
cool cars,
Novas, Camaro, stuff that
they were there.
Galaxies, and I mean, no telling what I turned down, but it was just, I got them. And like I said, every one of them didn't have front wheels on them or back wheels, and it was all come along.
On the trailer.
Speaking of you freaking setting up that trailer, I remember I went up there, man. It was in the evening. You were like, man, do we go to round and round? Fuck it, we're gonna go. And we walked into your little paint booth hangout place, and like you said, you do whatever you got to do to make it to the races. And remember, I told you, I don't know if I told y'all a story. There was this guy I said, freaking putting on some heads with an impact wrench to make it to the race. I don't know whose buddy it was, but he was standing right there with me. He's like, oh, that joker, man, he's going to do it anyway. Yeah. And y'all freaking literally just impact, pat, and put the motor in and turned on. And y'all knocked off the rear view mirrors and whatever just to meet safety. And they were ready to go for that night, man, to go run around. And it was like just entry level.
Yeah, we were doing, it was called bomber class.
Yeah.
Shit. Yeah.
Yeah, so you didn't have to have a roll cage, but you had to weld a piece of metal on the door or chain it.
Yeah.
Chain the door shut. So I said, hell, we can do that. We didn't have torches welded back in the day, Finally, we got it. Then we go, well, who knows how to use it? We got it, Yeah, so, hey, can you weld? Can you cut? So that's how we got it. And then
you learn, right?
Yeah, so
there was always some shit car y'all had because y'all were gonna take it there and just run it, man. And I got like this close, man, for y'all to get me motivated to go throw a car. And I'm like, dude, am I gonna get hurt? And you're like, no, man, just go, man. I'm like, well, what kind of car should I get? Shit, any one of those. Yeah. They're gonna be shit by Monday. I'm like, I don't know, man.
It don't matter.
Yeah, my uncle Monaco Reyes, he did a lot of custom cars for Donnie Meredith, Calvin Cantwell, a lot of the guys,
really?
And those guys, I mean, it was like their pictures were already burnt in first place holding the trophy. Them guys were winning all the time, And, they would help me a little bit, but it was hard for me because there was another guy, Albert Martinez. He used to work at Commercial Metals. Back then it was Reyes Salvage. And he lived up the road from us, and he had all the coolest cars.
Damn.
And I would talk to him. He was driving, I think it was a fastback Mustang back in the day.
Yeah.
And it had Fat Albert painted on the side of it.
Damn. And he raced it in there?
He raced it over there.
See, some guys actually, they had some muscle cars in there, man.
And that's what he would do. Back then they had like 55 Chevrolets, but his was that Mustang, and he would run it. He was pretty consistent. He'd win every now and then, but he was like the only minority Hispanic there. And so I would kind of, he was kind of like my hero I would go to. Then, I met Glenn Swaby out there.
Yeah, I remember that name.
Waldo Harper, them guys,
Yeah, I remember they had
Lee Mackin. I didn't know he was friends with my dad, and he would give me stuff, he would do a little bit like he did my head work on my motors and stuff and machine work. And, he would see me out there. He would give me tires, and he knew I didn't have no money. He goes, catch me on your payday.
Yeah.
I said, them paydays are long for me, Lee. I don't have no money.
I'm done by Thursday. Yeah.
And then my mom would say, Steve, you got bald tires on your truck or car, and you're
that race car.
That race car got brand new tires, and you blew two of them out the same night.
Damn.
Just stuff like that.
Yeah, man.
It wasn't about winning; it was being out there. But it was hard for me because I was a minority after Albert left.
Yeah.
And, a lot of them redneck guys didn't want to help me. Now I'm good friends with a lot of them. But, back then, whenever you get in something and you're not part of it,
it's
it was hard. But I wasn't a quitter. I stayed there. I got roughed up a little bit.
It would always make me nervous, man, when you're like, hey, y'all want to go with me? Y'all want to go? Yeah. And I had such a bad taste, man, when I was like 10, 8, of seeing all that fighting and shit, that every time y'all be like, hey, you going to come go? And I'm like, nah, I think
you go to watch the races, and then after that, watch the fights.
Yeah, that's basically what it was, man. And they have to push some cars because they done blocked you, so you can't drive back out. You park next to you're like, damn, how do I get back out?
Yeah, and them guys, they just push your cars back in the day. They didn't give a shit.
Your car would be like 4 or 5 cars.
Yeah. Well, I parked it here. Well, follow them skid marks. You'll find it.
You're gonna find it. You know what? And there was a what do you call it? Rodeo across the street further down. That was even more shadier. That place was shady as hell too. Your car would be gone. Where the freak is they moved it?
They used to have swap meets there every now.
They did.
Yeah.
Man, that's crazy. So that was I say good times in a way, but but from that you've always done round and round. Did you ever of course you jumped into like customized, and you had a Mercury.
He had that Merc. By the time I met him, I was like 17. You already had that Merc chopped.
Yeah.
You were just waiting on it.
Actually, it was a 49 Ford,
Ford, yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
and I didn't know nothing, and I would, the old Hot Rod custom magazines. It was funny.
Yeah.
I'm on a Gene Winfield's place out in Mojave Desert. I didn't visit him 2 weeks ago. Unfortunately, I missed
Is that right?
Yeah, I didn't make it out there. But I went and I talked to him. I told him my story.
And he's been here so many times. Yeah.
Then he like right when COVID hit, he was going to have a big car show. So me and about 8 other guys, we were going to, hey, let's go to Gene's, because he would come to the roundup and we'd talk.
Yeah, that's what you can.
And I got a couple pictures, he'd come visit me and stuff. So we said, yeah, let's go down there. So we bought the tickets, plane tickets, and COVID hit. And Los Angeles was like one of the last places opens where they shut it down a week before we went. So we said, hell, we're still going. We rented the van, and it was like a ghost town. Everybody hiding, scared, whatever. Yeah. So we said, well, hell, we don't got shit to do. We went to the beaches, running around. Went to Lord's Custom, old Jesse's over there, visit him a couple of times.
Yeah.
Yeah,
nice. And I went and visited him a week ago, when I was down in Los Angeles for a movie premiere.
Yeah,
awesome. And
so we're going to talk about that because you took some cars. And I remember you posted on your page and I had never seen these cars before. So let's go back a little bit. A few years back, so you get into the TV, you get access because you're salvage, right? I mean, we already talked about a lot of Steve, what he's been doing up there. Right. So people obviously they like the spin of Austin, and so people start moving this way. Shops started popping up, but before then it was just you. Few of the guys that did some cars, custom cars. You were like the only guy that had actually that I knew of that chopped a car. There was another guy that I worked with right out of high school because me and Renee did body work. So I won the Texas paint championship deal, and Mako wanted me to go work, and I'm like, no, I'm gonna go work at AMD. They make a lot more money than $7 an hour, and Renee's like, well, I'm gonna go work over there, So he started working there. But so I got to meet like one other guy, and he did a bunch of custom cars, but he was going to Gene to get a lot of his shit. And then Twilight Customs came around.
Yeah, Twilight was on South Lamar, I believe. Yeah.
So there wasn't that very many shops. Today, you throw a nickel, man, and just freaking hit all 5, custom shops. So with that said, how did the promoters come and said, hey, we want to frequent you onto these shows?
Yeah, actually, Juan was doing a lot more of that stuff, out there in Creedmoor.
Oh, yeah.
High RPM,
Yeah, Juan,
and,
buddy mine,
He started getting a little bit involved. They were coming to him.
He got me involved. We took go to the movies, too.
So I got to give him credits on that, and then he would come, hey, Steve, I need this. Hey,
cars.
Steve. Yeah, so then he goes, man, they're asking for too much stuff. I'm going to just turn you on to them.
Yeah.
So they did. And then after that, it took off. So then I got a phone call one day from the Texas Film Commission. Said, hey, we're hearing a lot about you. We would like for you to come register. And still to this day, I still hadn't registered. And the guy said, man, come down. I'll fill out all the paperwork. You just sign it. He goes, we get calls for you all the time, from movie companies. And they know about you. And he goes, if I'm not here, I know about you, and I refer them to you, to Reyes Towing and Salvage. Talk to Steve or, one of his sons. They'll help you out, and, get your foot in the door. So, and this was probably, over 10. Well, shoot, I think one of the first ones I did was with, that I remember was with Tommy Lee Jones. He was a
the cheerleaders.
The cheerleaders, and then
I remember that.
Texas.
Right there at McKinney Falls. That's where they rolled over the bus with the roll cage we had and everything. And then we did Border Patrol cars with Tommy Lee Jones and some of the other movies. And we actually met him on set a couple times. And he goes, "You're my car guy." I said, "Well, I'm one of them, but I'm not the main guy." Ronnie Reeves picture cars. He's the one that turns me on to a lot of stuff. And he kind of blessed me with it because I was doing such a good job. He goes, "Steve, I don't need nothing. I don't have time for this. I'm giving them your information. You just do whatever."
You just like, hey, open arms, I'm doing everything.
And we did a lot of commercial stuff. People would come in. We need a car. We need to blow this up. We need to call Steve. Call Steve.
Man, you had the perfect. He was at the perfect time with all the cars.
So. Awesome. But what it was, other people were using me.
Yeah.
Like you would come in and say, "Hey, Steve, we need to do this," and you say, "Hey, I'll give you $500," and they're paying you $5,000.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's where it was. So then,
because there was a part in one of the skits where you had some motors, and I think Obama was involved in that.
Yeah.
And
he goes, "I got these from Steve."
But he's jacking up the prices on the motors.
Yeah, he talks about it. Yeah, Bam and I go way back. I was one of the first car guys he met when he came to Austin. He was with
different station,
about Bo and Bama. It was all heavy metal, rock, rock and roll. Yeah, then when he said he's going country, I'm like, shoot.
I only know him for country.
Yeah,
Yeah, every now and then he'd mention, there's always a time, he talked with his voice, And I remember, he says, he goes, I guess he was saying something about, you can't always bring everything home because, your wife starts, questioning everything. He goes, but, you just can't stare away from a 69 Camaro passing you up on 35, knowing very well that he's going to a swap meet, and it makes you want to go. And I'm like, shit, he's into cars too. I didn't know he was into cars. And then I finally realized that was that guy that Pro Street Camaro,
the first one.
And all my shit that I put on that ratty ass Camaro I built came out of that good.
Matter of fact, that was going to be the first Pro Street Camaro ever put together in Austin with Bama Brown. That's the one he had, and then he saw my Roadster running with little skinny ass tires on there. I had N50s back then, but that's all I could get. He goes, man. And Well Wheels came out with this
some orange
14,
frames,
50,
flames on it.
So he goes, look, we just met, but and I remember when he first met Jamie, his wife, he's with right now. Yeah. He goes, look, Steve, I think they lived out in Cat Hollow or somewhere. So I still got my homemade trailer that's made me a lot of money. A mobile home. It was too big for a car. I could haul a car in the front end on the front, and that's where I'd go to swap meets. And I had an old homemade dually. It wasn't even a dually.
I remember that one.
It was a 4-door truck. You could see the floorboard. Yeah, the white one.
Ended up with that one after a while. I remember
it had all different colored doors and fender, but the majority of it was white at one time. Right? But you could be driving, and back then my wife said, we were young back then, said, Steve, don't let the kid on the ground and go fall out on the floor.
That's funny.
Back then, no seatbelts, no nothing.
I know, right now, it didn't matter back then,
and we would go to swap meets, back then, and, and that's all. We go and we'd live in that truck. We'd go to Dallas, Kerrville. And when I left, I had $20 in my pocket, a couple gallons in the truck, and I said, well, we're gonna make money because I knew I started to learn what people wanted. And back then, I would know. Everybody knew me as a skinny Mexican guy. Where's that skinny Mexican guy? They didn't know me, but. People from Dallas, Houston were getting me, and then pagers came out.
Oh, shit.
I'm somebody.
I would lose your phone number for about 2 years. I couldn't call you. I'm like, I gotta have to stop by one of these days because I lost his number again. Shit, And then out of nowhere, just y'all stop, or Artie would just stop. Hey man, I haven't seen you in a while. No, I'm still here, man. Freaking, But that sucked, man. You couldn't keep contact.
So then, we would go, we would barbecue, make sandwiches. All right, we got money. We're gonna run to the store, watch our stuff. We go buy
some
package of bologna, and lunch meat, and that's how everybody picnicked back in the day. But we were surviving.
I hear you, man.
I didn't have nothing, and I wasn't one into jewelry, drugs, drinking, smoking. Drinking a little bit in my younger days.
Them car parts were hard enough to to buy.
And then you would come, and back then I was selling running motors for $150. Really? 200 if you wanted a transmission. And, so I'm getting them free cars, and I'd go load them up. And, back then, we carried a little bit of gas to dump down the carburetor and start. And then when this guy, that old man out of Needlewater, I wish I could remember. He showed me a lot because that was my hangout place. And
is that right?
He was just there by himself.
So this was not the A to Z.
No, not A to Z. That was years later.
Oh wow.
So.
And this is the guy who bought that trailer from that one.
Yeah, from the trailer. And, he showed me, son, you need to do this. And so I would go help him. Yeah. And he would show me how to, get motors out and stuff. Because I didn't know nothing about cars, Yeah. And I started learning, and he goes, you want all the Chevrolet 350 motors, a V8. If they're running. And then he goes, look at this motor right here. I can start it. I said, they don't have no exhaust on you because I'm just learning. He goes, they don't even have a carburetor. He goes, go give me that duct tape, boy. So I went and got that duct tape. He put it on across where the carburetor should be, and then he cut some holes in it and dumped gas in there. and started that, and I thought that was the coolest shit I've ever seen in my
He
life.
made his own little Venturi.
Yeah. And then, the flames are coming out because there's no exhaust manifolds, and I'm like, oh shit, this guy knows what he's doing.
Yeah, he does know shit.
So I learned a lot, and then as I got older, I was working at AutoZone. Still didn't know shit about cars. Out in South Austin, me and my buddy Gilbert
Wait, which
Martinez
AutoZone?
On what's that? South First and Stasi. It used to be back in that corner.
Yeah, I remember Gilbert.
Gilbert Martinez. He still works for AutoZone on 7 to handle commercial. He's a real good guy. He was into Mopars.
Yeah, I was gonna say that.
Chargers and whatever with the 440s.
Yeah, he drag raced a lot.
Yeah,
too.
he drag raced a lot. So he and I, I think he
second
got me the job there.
Did he?
And so I'm working there. I'm finally starting to learn cars, and then when I learn them, I get an offer from an engine company. Guys used to come in. It was called Austin Engines. I think his name was Tom, and his buddy, I can't remember his name. It was a white and black guy and a wife. And so they said, hey, you want to come? They were right there on Ben White at that little shop where Madrano's transmission. They were in that little area.
Austin Quality Exchange?
No, it was called Austin Engines.
Just Austin Engines? Okay.
Yeah. So he goes, you want to learn? So I tell all my friends, I'm going to be an engine builder. Didn't know shit. I didn't know what nothing was. He goes, we're going to teach you from the ground up. He wasn't lying.
Damn.
They taught you?
He taught me. My job, my clothes were black every day, no matter what it was. But I worked, when they bought the engine cores, my job was to tear them down. He goes, you need to learn where all the bolts are first.
Yeah.
He goes, it's a dirty job, but
oiled up.
Yeah, oiled up. And then I went to him one day. I told Tom, he was one of the owners, and I said, Tom, well, there was those two guys, and then the main owner was a money backer. He was an older white guy. I can't remember his name. So anyway, I'm working there, and I said, this bolt won't come out. He goes, Steve, don't ever say it won't come out. If it went in, it's coming out.
Go get that torch over there.
Exactly.
Impact
chisel, torch, or whatever. Weld this. I got to. So then I started learning all the tricks of the trades on the motors. But I was greasy, and then I dismantled them all. He showed me where to stamp them and mark the rods, the crank. Start miking them, and then we'd put them in the vat, clean them, the steam washer. We just barely got it bent. Back then they had a vat, but when I started, they got that oven, and it was like
fire and shit. I saw one of those.
Bake that bitch right up.
It ran off propane or natural gas, and it would. It would flame it and burn it, whatever the hell it did, but you got a bare core.
I saw one at South Austin Machine. I'm like, I think I can make that at home. And my dad's like, you making that shit at home.
Damn bomb.
I'm not doing that shit. Dad, it's just the propane, He's like, no. All it was a come along.
That's what it was.
They'd run all the way through the shop. It would start.
You pick it up. So I did that for about 1.5 years, and he goes, all right, Steve, you ready to start building owners? I'm like, hell yeah. So, he took me. And my first motor I built, and I worked with his son. I don't know if his name was Tom Jr. or whatever, but he was out more partying, having a good time or whatever.
Of course, typical.
So we all had our engine booths right there, and everything was to the right of you. Everything you needed to build that motor. They would come mic it, give you the cranks,
so you
all the bearings. So all you got to do is assemble it. And, so he goes, and he gave me a cheat sheet on what all the torque should be, you know, torque everything down, do this and do that. So then... we were building a motor, and my first engine, he goes, do this one right. He goes, I got a lot of faith in you. It's going to Louisiana for one that they had to replace that broke down out there.
Yeah.
Warranty.
So warranty work. So, so he was on me, and he goes, I know you know what you're doing. You just need to be guided in the right way. You're going to do what we tell you to do because you don't know any better. Nobody's telling you, hey, you need to do this, you need to do that. You're going to learn the way I want you to learn it. That's why I recruited you to do this.
Damn.
So
he wanted somebody fresh, no
so
bad habits.
So,
he wanted.
Exactly. And I learned that when I started my tow truck business. We had, I think, 6 tow trucks, internationals running. We were running out of Salvage Pool, chasing wrecks and doing whatever. And that's what I did. If you told me you were a record driver, I didn't want you. But if you said, hey, I drove a box truck or a bread truck.
You can
come on.
Them are the guys because them guys already know more than you no matter what. And they're going to tell you how to do your business. Well, where's your business at? Why don't you have your own truck? You're this badass expert,
That's exactly right.
And the guys that I worked, they were, that I had, they were all mostly from Mexico, had their paperwork. They were legit, honest,
Been
good
building
workers.
shit back there.
Yeah, you know, and they knew what to do. They took care of it. And they didn't know nothing. I showed them, me and my dad, how to roll over cars, hook them up. We let them run wrecks for them, and we said, if it's a bad wreck and you don't want to work it, because they had nothing with, therapies back in the days,
Nah.
And if you got there and somebody's head was missing, it was laying in the back seat, and you were the first wrecker on scene.
No, man.
Yeah,
Oh, no, not tomorrow,
we
sir.
We dealt with anything and everything. People getting ejected, babies. I mean, I can tell you stories all day, but and even to this day, nobody's ever said, "Hey, Steve, are you all right?" From everything you've seen. Me and my dad, we saw my cousin Henry Flores. We seen a lot of things. 'Cause out there in the rural area, 9 times out of 10, if it wasn't Special Automotive, it was us back in the day. We ran wrecks, and we were on the highway, so we ran them radios like Lee. So if we're there, and unfortunately, 9 times out of 10, there were Hispanic people that didn't talk English at wrecks, so we had the little edge. And my Taco Bell Spanish wasn't too good.
Taco Bell burrito.
So
accidental.
I would just get there before my dad.
Salsa, no salsa. What happened?
We had chase trucks, which were 80 model Chevrolet pickups that were souped up, and with the wheel lift and the sling in the back, because all we had to get there first. And
no shit. Wait, hold on.
Before another record.
Another record.
Your square bodies were souped up.
Yeah.
So you had headers and these are big blocks, 454s.
And the thing was, Lee Mack, and he was friends with my dad, and we were competing against him, but he was still doing our machine work and engine work.
That is funny as shit.
So
he was the real fucking Cannonball Run to do the tow trucks out. They got the Trans Am.
Actually, Lee Mackin was. My dad told me a story. Him and Lee were coming in the first time my dad, because we used to run Lee Mackin's records back in the day. Me and my brother Rick and my dad, because we were on the highway, and then finally we got into it years later.
Yeah.
But he had a 6-cylinder that was souped up, and that's the one my dad would always want to run.
Seriously?
Yeah.
They got a lot of torque.
Yeah. And anyway, my dad was telling me, Lee was hauling a bug, and we were coming on the back roads, and one of the sling chains came loose, and the bug rolled over.
And he's dragging that bitch.
Yeah, and he's dragging. He goes, hell, we're almost to, and there wasn't cars back in the day, so my dad would always tell me about that story.
We're almost there.
But I'm sure Lee Mackin could tell you a lot of stories. Back then when Travis County would wreck the patrol cars, they would take them to Lee Mackin, and my dad would go over there. Lee Mackin had a junkyard, and they would replace the fender. My dad would paint it before their shift was over.
Damn.
So because they were friends with all the cops back then. The state troopers, DPS. Back then it was always hey, we're gonna do this, but we were getting wrecks and stuff. It was a little bit, but the times changed a whole lot. But we did anything. Like I said, we would run the wrecks. Get there first, get both the cars, and the flatbeds would come. They would drop another wreck. We'd hear it on the radio and take off in a chase truck.
There was a guy right there by the Longhorn Speedway in that neighborhood where my sister moved in. This is the 80s. There was a guy there who had retired, but he had a bunch of tow trucks. But he
Jack Salazar.
Is that him?
Yes, Jack
I
Salazar.
used that guy several times, man, to
matter
pull
of
me out
fact,
of pickle. And he was retired too, but he's like, I'll go get you.
Yes, he was right there. Matter of fact, I got him on to the city to start towing police cars because I can't remember if it was Southside towing. Unfortunately, they weren't on contract. And when I started working over there, part of my job was to review the contracts, and they were doing all the work. He had been doing it so long, so I said, hey, do I keep using them? I don't know. I'm learning how to do the contracts for the city of Austin. They said, no, you need to get minority bids and all this. I said, what do I do? So then I called Jack Salazar, and then I called a lot of the smaller guys that I knew.
Right. There was another guy in your area. They called him Bear. I don't know. He had tow trucks, but he lived out in the country.
A white guy?
No, he's a Hispanic guy, big Hispanic dude.
Okay, yeah, I'm not too sure that one. But there was also Litton Towing. I got him on. They were all conventional tow trucks, bringing the old cop cars. They were still running some of the old Diplomats and some of the old big square body Ford Crown Victorias. And so I got them guys on, and then they hauled for about a year and a half till they did the contract, and I think it finally got awarded to Allstate Towing. But it was a big mess. I can't talk about a lot of that stuff. But I was singled out as a bad guy. From APD.
The independent.
Yeah. So and we weren't using our tow trucks because it was a conflict of interest. But Lee Mackin, I got him in hauling. because I think a lot of stuff was under Judy Mack, and because she was female, that's how she was able to get under the minority. So you could bid $100 to tow it, and then a minority comes in and bids $150. Well, guess who's gonna get to tow the minority?
Minority.
That's
That's just how the contracts work. Back in the day, they've done a little adjustment here and there.
I remember.
Right.
I came out of work. I was working downtown in one of the buildings, and man, that's when the tornadoes hit downtown that one year, and so I'm like, well, I gotta go home, and so I should have never even gotten in the damn. I should have just stayed, because all the electricity went out. The tornado hit downtown, and I got stuck in the middle of Congress.
And traffic lights are dead, right?
Well, not just the traffic lights, but the Christmas tree lights. It was around that time, and it landed between the cab and the bed of my truck and my drive shaft. I mean, and as I was driving, I was about to hit the Congress Bridge.
Pulling all the wires.
Dude, I'm boom, 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 boom. I can hear those bolts going, pa, pa, pa. I mean, I'm popping, and then my truck just locked. And I'm like, fuck, I was just trying to get away from this,
Yeah.
So I tried to get out, but there's a big puddle of water, and I'm like, either I make it or I'm gonna die. So I jumped off that mug way as far as I could, and I walked that dude from Congress all the way to my house. Man, my mom and my sister were out there like, man, we thought you weren't gonna come back. I said, man, it's already. How long did it take me to get here? Because I sat on the bridge on a city bus for like an hour, and that bridge was going all and freaking out. But that next morning, man, I had to figure out where the hell my truck was. Somebody took it. I didn't know who the hell took it. I ended up at South Austin, towing. Yeah. And I go in there, and man, my shit was way in the back. They had already, like, I don't even know how they grabbed that motherfucker from the back, but it was the bed. The tailgate was messed up, and I said, God damn. I said, I don't even know how y'all managed to get here. Like, oh, man, let me tell you. We were scared to move that truck, man, because that whole, you tangled about, they said at least like four yards of
I can imagine.
Big old freaking.
The main cable. The hot wire.
The main hot wire.
Yeah, they ran City of Austin.
Yeah. And I said, man, I barely cleared the puddle where I got stuck. And but anyway, I got it from them, and all I did, I kicked the bed back to where it was leveled out and forced the tailgate back on. I went and traded that mug in. I said, I don't know, man, it turned off on me for some reason, electrocution or something. But they have a priority, or on the highway of who's going to get
it depends. Yeah, like usually back in the day, it was the first one on the scene.
Yeah, but they changed it.
They changed it. Now they're going by, they ping you. You have to sit it, like, if you pull too close, they're not going to ping you. They'll ping somebody else behind you, So,
wow.
But in the county, you can still kind of run them. But they're going to probably eventually go that way.
Yeah. So, are you still doing the towing?
No, I got out of it. My cousin Henry helped me out a lot. He passed away, and then my dad and I ran it for a long time. Henry would help us on and off, but he was a big help to us.
Yeah.
And, and like I said, we would sit out there. People are out going to clubs, spending time. Yeah. We're out there sitting, waiting for wrecks. We knew they were having the Mexican rodeos or the regular rodeos.
Something's going to happen.
Race cars. We're missing some events, something else. We were on top of it, and we would be in the general area.
Yeah.
And we got to know all the officers, and then they get stuck in the mud when it's raining. They don't have to call the tow truck. We'd pull them out as a courtesy.
Yeah.
And other guys, hey, you owe me $100, for pulling you out. We never did that, because we got to work together. I'm not going to charge them guys whether I get the tow or not. Gotcha. But
I interviewed another friend of ours, brothers. I don't know if you know them, Brian and Chris Curley. And Chris, he worked for South Austin back in the day, way back then, and he still does towing to this day. But he told us his eyes told us of a lot of stuff that he's worked with. But one famous one that actually got on YouTube and stuff like that was this one dump truck towards Westlake area.
No, where it ran the stoplight.
Freaking fell in the ditch.
Yeah.
Everybody thought it was like a California one or whatever, and I'm like,
no, it was on the heels.
And I posted it up. He goes, no, that was me. I towed it out of that freaking thing. I'm like, let's tell us the story. Yeah. But that's the only other guy that kind of gave us a glimpse to how the towing world worked. And I always knew you were into towing back then, because I'd see you pass up and down, my house every now and then, or down Burleson. I'd catch you.
Yeah, we were running everywhere. We were hitting it hard back in the day.
You had the big flatbeds too.
Yeah, we had the big flatbeds. I bought 6 of them at one time.
Whoa, yeah.
And my dad and brothers ran them. I was still working for the city of Austin. And well, I don't work for the city of Austin. It's been, I think my statute of limitations passed already. So I can tell you the story.
Yeah. I still can't talk about my job.
Nobody was smart enough to catch it that saw it. You know, I bought a tow truck from Bobby Joe from Southside, and you know, we called it Baby Girl. You know, for my daughter. You know, and it was a conventional Kodiak top kick, you know, with a bubble cab on it.
Yeah.
And it'd been in Elgin, San Marcos, and I ended up with me, you know. And I went out there and told Bobby Joe, hey, I'm looking. He goes, man, I'm getting ready to get this one out of San Marcos. And, you know, he helped me. I bought it, and I used that truck. Well, one of the floods we had here in Austin.
I remember.
You know, and it was, you know, we were up on north and south rotation, a Baker rotation, so I was at work, and I would always, you know, I drove the tow truck because it was flooding that day.
Yeah.
And my dad said, well, be ready if I call you, take you a change of clothes.
Oh,
so I said, okay. And my boss, you know, I'm not going to say your name, Daniel Dominguez, back in the day, and he was my supervisor. You know, I would take my break or whatever, you know. And Chuck Schoenfield, all them managers, all the good guys, you know. So we're there, and I said, hey, I got to take a lunch break early. I might be a little bit longer, but I'll stay and make up my time. Oh, that's good because we got people we're going to have mandatory because of the flood going on. Well, the flood had started real bad all night, and it broke. Well,
dude, it was...
my dad called me, hey, Steve, at Crystal Bend, you got a rotation. It's a car in the water. So we get out there. I get out there. And I pull out there, it's like, oh shit, there's news cameras all over the place.
Wow.
So I get my raincoat on, and by then the sun's already coming out. So I put it on, tighten it up and everything, and then the news reporters come, hey, can we talk to you?
Like, hey.
Because the fire department wouldn't even go in there, and I could see the car about 30 yards, and the water's already receding, but it's still on the road.
Right.
And the lady's sitting on the back of the car.
Yeah.
And they said, well, we're going to wait for this, we're going to do that. I said, no, I'm going to go because I got to get my ass back to work.
I got to go.
You know, so I want to hook this up and go.
Yeah.
So I get out there, and I said, I'm not waiting, you know.
Yeah.
And so I start walking out, you know, and I get the lady, and I escort her back, to the thing. And then that's when the news people want to interview me. I said, no, my boss doesn't let me do interviews.
Oh, shit.
You know, but I didn't want to be seen on
About
TV.
with the mask.
You know, I said, well, we can film me for this. I said, yeah, but just, you know, and of course, you could see my hood's all scrunched in because I don't want them to see my face. You know,
I probably saw that part right there. And
so then they show the tow truck and everything, and this is early in the morning before news.
the news.
At 12, 12.
Yeah.
So you know, it's like 10 o'clock. So you know, I get back in, I hook up the car. Right there, I'm not, because I don't want to winch it out. I'm backing up. I drop the wheel lift, pick it up, put my spoons on, and pull out and tie it up. And then, you know, I said, hey, can I go when this is done? So they give me my impound sheet and everything. And so I load it up and go. So they're filming. They think I'm going to stop, but shit, you see that? I keep rolling because I got to go back to the yard and dump it, and then go back to work. So I get there, and my brothers are unloading the cars because they've been running all like crazy out of the country. And this was
everybody flooded. That was that one time that downtown flooded again, right?
Yes, downtown. So it was flooded everywhere. You know, down around South Lamar.
It was bad.
So you know, and back then that was a county where Crystal Bend is, off of Manual, kind of in that area. So then, you know, we're running all the way from the yard. Well, I'm already in town with my tow truck. So I get back, and then, you know, I made it like I was like 15 minutes over my hour lunch. So I said, hey, I'm going to stay, you know.
Yeah.
And then we're sitting there, and then the news comes on.
Oh,
and,
there he is.
You know, and then I'm looking at him like, oh, shit, there's my tow truck right there. And there's me.
What am I going to say?
Nobody knew that I changed clothes, you know, because I was soaking wet because I was in a hurry to go, you know.
Yeah, he's experienced.
Yeah, so, you know, I get back and I said, hey, Steve, look, there's one of your trucks, and the goddamn truck's sitting outside in the parking lot, you know, and it's raining, you know, it started, you know, but nobody, you know, all the mechanics, nobody knew, all the administrators that worked there in the building.
Damn.
My tow truck's sitting there, and it's 12 o'clock news, it's like in the morning, you know.
That was you, right?
Yeah, and they're like, you know, and that's the only truck we had in our fleet back then that was like that, you know, and, you know, but nobody till this day, you know, and I start telling people about it, you know, I guess they're all going to know about it now.
I got a twin. Y'all didn't know that. There was a twin.
Yeah. So.
You know, speaking of that flood, man, we're gonna bring in another guy that you may know him. He worked with Gilbert at AutoZone. His name is Ray Martinez. And so right at that time, because all that happened like around 10, 11, 12, and it started getting worse. and he had a real nice Corvette that he had bought, with the LS motor and all that. And I remember that he got stuck at the end of Willem Canyon going towards your place, and the water started rising into his car.
Yeah, because back then it was still the low water crossing.
He got screwed, man. Yeah. His Corvette, I don't know. He'll have to tell the story, but he was one of those victims that ran into that little creek area.
Yeah, because it was still a low water crossing, and that was the only way to get in from there to back from the country back back to Austin. And that was a swimming hole. Everybody would go down there and go swimming.
Yeah, so he got affected by that. We were fortunate enough, I guess we were on Old Torp, so high hill. But from the aftermath, the next day it was straight to music downtown.
Yeah, all downtown.
That 7-Eleven that's there.
Yeah.
Man, that whole area was just underwater, man. I'm like, wow, man, I'm driving through here just to go to Blockbuster right next door.
They did it 2 or 3 times.
Yeah. The first time was like early 80s.
Yeah, I wasn't out there on the first one. I was out on the second one.
Well, the one that I remember, the very first one, it was early 80s, and McMorris Ford used to be downtown Capitol.
Yeah.
Dude, that whole area was, underwater. Yeah. And there was a guy that used to live behind the dealership, and he had a badass 55 Chevy, Kragers. The beautiful car. And his whole place was flooded. And so by the time I was like 17, when I met you guys, I was working at McMorris downtown. And so I'm working in the parts area, and man, there's like a water line in the wall. And he's like, oh yeah, this whole place is flooded. I said, so all these parts are still part of it? Oh yeah, we didn't get rid of none of our shit. And man, they made me that day, like a couple of weeks later, man, we had to go to the back where everything had flooded. Brand new steel wheels from their big, what are they, 4500 series or whatever. Man, we threw a whole truckload of those steel wheels at St. Elmo Salvage. And I was like, shit, man, are you sure I can't just have a few of these, man? Because there were the big ones. Yeah. But man, we dumped out so much good shit out of the back of that dealership. Just because of that stupid ass flood, man. It just ruined their shit. So anyway, now they're on the motor mount to this day. Yeah. But that was the only flood that had happened since the one that you ended up working and the Ray who's going to be here on Friday.
Speaking of Morris downtown, Town Lake Chrysler used to be right there on 5th or 6th, right there on South Lamar. Well, my uncle worked for Town Lake Chrysler back then, and he was a body man, my Uncle Henry. Yeah. And what he did.
He had some race cars.
Yeah, he did my race car.
Really?
He had, I don't know how he got them, but he had Town Lake Chrysler, and he was in the Navy, so instead of General Lee, he put Admiral Lee on there and painted it just like the Dukes of Hazzard, and it would, they'd take it to the dealership, they would work on it there. Wow. And it used to be David Umshire's old dirt track car. Yeah. It had, I didn't know shit about motors still back then, but it was a 383 with a 4-speed in it. Yeah. And somebody had junked that car when I started picking up cars. I wasn't even in a metal recycling, but I got into slowly getting into crushing cars after I got so many.
Yeah, because I remember you said it's more profitable this way, man.
Yeah.
I was like, okay.
So I got that car in, and my uncle saw it. He goes, Steve, why don't you build your race car out of that? Because he would take me to the things. And I said, man, I don't know nothing, So then, but we would always go watch the races. So that, when I was a lot younger, he would take me. Yeah. And then that's how I got into him and my dad's uncle. They called him Lightning. He was on lights. He was an upholsterer. He looked just like Colonel Sanders. And my friends would see him, and I said, yeah, it's my uncle. He goes, does he own Colonel Sanders? I would tell him yes, And he was Hispanic, Monaco Diaz was his name, But they called him Lightning, and he would do upholstery out of his house right there at Lightsey Street off of South Congress.
That is funny. So you found that car, but you knew where it was at, or you just found it?
No, somebody brought it to me, and they said, hey, we heard you buy a car, so I might have gave $50 for it.
That's crazy. People would actually stop and sell you a
man,
car.
let me tell you.
Some good shit showed up,
my dream car
showed up.
Mach 1.
He showed up. You don't have to hunt it down,
showed up like, not that one, but a guy bought it in Lockhart. And it was one of those 100+ degree days. He said that was his 4th flat, and I heard this noise. And back then we were like the only ones on the highway. And and then he goes, look, he said, give me $100 and you can have this. It was a Mach 1 70 model with everything. He goes, I'm tired of fixing flats. We've had 3 of them. It's been almost 4 hours, and we still hadn't made it to Austin.
God dang.
So I gave him his $100, and he gave me the title. I drug that back, and somebody said, "Oh, this has that fold-down seat in the back. I'll give you $200 for that." And this is back in the early days.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so I'm like, a light went off in my head. You mean I could part this thing out instead of just crushing it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So then,
That's
I
where it
parted
started,
out.
right?
Yeah.
That's where
So
it
that's what it started. So, that's why I got Reyes Salvage. But back in the day, and I was young also, and we would go do all our titles, either at Fry's Title, and then out there off of Breaker Lane, there was a DPS office up there.
Yeah.
And that's where we would go, and that was the only place I knew. I wasn't smart, and there wasn't, like Google this. There wasn't no Google back then.
You actually had a book of maps.
So we would go out there, and then this lady helped me get my salvage license. She goes,
you have a license.
well, back then you did, but you didn't. It wasn't enforced. So
I
I was probably maybe 18, 19 years old.
Yeah.
And she goes, "I always see you doing titles in here." She goes, "Do you have a dealer's license?" I was like, "What's that? I don't do drugs. I'm not no dealer.
You're selling coke."
Yeah. And she goes, "No, for cars, because you come in." She goes, "You're only allowed to sell like 13 cars."
What?
So a year. So she started giving me the rundown. And she goes, "Here, do this salvage license." Because she goes, "What do you do?" I said, "Oh, I get junk cars and I'll fix them and sell them or whatever."
Yeah.
And some I'll put them in my name, and my cousins want them or trading or whatever.
Right.
And she goes, "Well," and she goes, "What do you do?" I said, "Well, I'm starting to crush cars." She goes, "Well, do you have a salvage license?" I said, "What's that?" And she goes, she gave me the paperwork, and she said, "Here." She gave me the paperwork. I said, "Okay, well, I'll be in." She goes, "No, sit down right there and fill it out, and I'm going to help you." And I wish I could remember that lady's name, but I'm just moving forward back in the day.
She's retired now.
Oh yeah, she's been way gone because when I got older, I went back looking for her, and nobody really remembered her. But I would, because my dad dealt with her, so I would go deal with the people that my dad, because I would follow his footprints, and so
that's cool.
So that helped me out. So, and if she would have never made me sit down or asked me to sit down and help me do it, I would have never done it. And
you've been knocking at the door of the IRS.
And I'm just
or county.
Well,
county knocking
it's
at your
funny
door.
because when they stopped issuing them at a time back in the 2000s, then I had people calling me offering money to buy my salvage license.
What?
And they're like, because you couldn't get them, but you could buy an existing license.
Wow. Oh, they halted the salvage.
Yeah, they halted the salvage license.
Shit.
But I was grandfathered in because I did mine back into the 80s,
Oh, no shit. So, because I remember some, those
early 80s.
Yeah, this guy, he did salvage towing just inside of a where repoed cars. Yeah. And he had to move them in there. So he's like, "Hey, you want to come work with me early in the, on a Saturday or something?" I'm like, "Nah, man, I want to freaking tow cars all morning. I'm tired already from working with you during the week." And so that was always questioning. I said, "Man, you obviously make pretty good money with your 2 tow trucks." And he goes, "Oh yeah, and then this is my bread and butter, man. This is how I'm able to just have fun with my regular job." And so I looked into it, and I'm glad I never would have gotten that damn license because everybody was going through somebody to go somewhere to be able to either flip a car or buy something from those services. You had for the longest the really nice '66 Chevelle Malibu that was sitting. I mean, it looked like it been on the ground. It was rusty as hell. So I'd always look at it like, man, this is it. This is the nicest car. But it would sit there and it would sit there, and I've seen it for years and years and years. And the only one that had the nerve to actually get it from me was Juan, because it ended up at his shop, and I said, "Oh man, you finally got my car." He's like, "What are you talking about?" I said, "You got it over there from Steve, man. He's had that thing for years." He goes, "Well, I'm gonna sell it." And man, he was just spray canning it, just to flip it, man. I said, "Dude, that was actually a really nice car, but damn, it was on the floor." But so I mean, you had some cool shit like that.
Yeah, man. I mean, I got a picture. It's floating around somewhere in my house, but. Back in the day, it was all, American Statesman, public auctions, parts for sale. We would go in and look, and
classic unique autos.
Yeah, exactly.
I remember that.
And man, if they said a car for sale, and I was Camaros and Novas and Chevelles, that was my thing.
That's it. Yeah.
And 55, 6, and 7s later on, but you know,
Yeah.
but those were bigger cars, and I would haul the smaller cars because I would try to fit 2 on my trailer, you know, that I had. And I would go to Houston, Dallas, you know, back then in that old wannabe 1-ton dually, you know, you could see the floorboard, you know, the ground through. But funny. I mean, I took it everywhere, you know, and then I would buy the running car and then the parts car. Back then you get them $700-800.
Yeah, for both,
and that's a lot of money. But I was making money by starting to sell parts off. You know, somebody come by, I would sell them a motor. Here, I'd start it up, and then I would get the job of putting the motor in.
Put the duct tape on there.
Yeah. Plus, I was doing paint and body work at the time. Yeah. I mean, you brought in a wrecked vehicle that was sideswiped. I'll tell you $600, and I'd have all the body work done and painted within a week's time. Damn. And I'm doing this either after school while I'm working at Town Lake Mini-Max back in the day on Riverside.
You worked there?
I worked there.
Shit. You probably sold me a model car and shit. I remember that. But so the little body shop you had there, where you'd always work on your cars, man. My brother's '69 Camaro came out of that, man, and that was like.
Yeah, we were just learning, you know, putting quarter panels on and stuff, you know, because, you know, we had the equipment then, but none of us knew how to use it. We didn't go to welding school or none of that, you know.
Somebody spotted that car in Liberty Hill, maybe about a couple of weeks ago, and damn, that car still looks as nice as it was the day it rolled out of your shop that day. Yeah. And it wasn't nothing special. It was just factory. I don't remember the name of the color of the blue. Yeah. It's not Marina blue. It's the darker blue. But the way you guys painted it was the way that the car still. I mean, it still has the original BF Goodrich tires. I'm surprised them things ain't blown up. They're old. Yeah. But that car's still rolling around, man. It's as nice as it was.
Believe it or not, there's a lot of cars that I did back in high school. I graduated in '83, barely. I was hiding in the audience with my cap and gown in case they didn't call my name.
At the very back of the line, I got it.
If it wasn't for passing with the D, I would have never made it. You know.
D. Yeah. So Del Valle or
Del Valle? Okay. I think I'm the reason where they changed a lot of the missing days and being tardy and have to be above a 70 instead of a 60.
Goddamn, it made it worse for us, man.
Yeah, I made it harder for the guys. You know,
I remember in 1984, 85, they passed the law. You know, no pass, no play, and if you don't make a C, you ain't going.
And I think I was the guy that they used
it up for us, man.
You know, because I mean, I was always coming in late, tardy, everything. I mean, you know. But I mean, I was working.
You're not gonna be a tow truck driver when you grow up. Well,
paint cars. And then after football games, you know, we'd go jump in the tow trucks and we'd run them for Lee Mack.
Were y'all winning games back then? Because I don't remember ever winning a game.
No, we had lost a bunch until I think the year that we left is when they finally started.
They started doing better because that man, throughout my whole time, man, we got our asses whooped by basketball.
I mean, you know, I wasn't a starter. I played on the football team.
You did.
I remember we played Smithville, I believe, and there was a big black guy. I think he's playing pro now, and I think the coach did it for the hell of it. Coach Butler. He said, "Steve, we're almost done. We're losing. Get in there and play. You're tied in." So I was on the defensive end. He goes, "I want you to knock that boy on his ass." And I was weighing about 140 back then. And this guy was like 6'3", 200-something pounds. You know, he was a pro ball player. And you know, the game was almost over. He said, "I'll bet you better put him on his ass, or you're not gonna play in another game." So he just kind of stood up, and I busted him on the chest and knocked him down. And of course, they're filming. You know, all the games are filmed.
Right.
So we go back, and that dude got up, and because I jumped up. That dude chased me around, and I'm running for my life.
I wonder if I got to see you at that public access channel back in the day. You know, got to click that channel. You could see it.
Because they kept showing that over and over, and they laughed at that because it was funny. Because that big dude, if he would have got his hands on me, he would have killed me.
That dude,
and I don't even remember his name, but he was a star player from Smithville.
Really, that dude, they used to do that football follies back in the day. I ended up working with him, man, just out of coincidence at this insurance company. His name was Andy. I think it was Andy. I can't remember his name, but he was a big Hispanic dude, and he had that great voice too, man. Like Bambi, that deep voice, and so I get in this Toyota truck, man, to go and you know try to find some contracts for health insurance, and so the whole time that I'm sitting in the Toyota truck with him, he had that voice. So you know, Paul. God Almighty, we're going to have to go into that business, you know, and I'm like, damn, it's like if I'm listening to him on the news channel, man. But it was funny as hell, man. We hit up a bunch of businesses, but I never forgot that he was the guy that would always show our, the high school football,
Highlights.
the highlights, man. So I don't know if you ever remember him, but
I vaguely, I do remember. There's a few things that I do remember back in that time frame.
Yeah.
Where they used to do it on Friday nights or one of those days after Friday night football.
That was his deal. Yeah.
Hey, so let's go back and talk about the movie side, right? We started getting into that. Like, so when you got into connections with some other people that got you in connection where you're at now.
Yeah.
So you named off a few. What are some of the other movies that you're associated with as far as vehicles?
Right.
A lot of them, honestly, in the beginning, I didn't even know what it was because they were coming to me. I was a third party. Like I said, you're the guy making the money. Coming to me.
Right.
They're paying you, and you're giving me crumbs. But I was still happy because the car's sitting there doing nothing.
Right.
So I'm winning. That's how I see it. I'm not a hater.
I knew who you were when I seen you on that damn TV show. I was like, man, that's Steve. How do you do it?
Yeah. So what happened is, they came out, they did their filming. And I get there, and I think his name's Paul. I can't remember, but he's the main owner of Velocity back then.
Gotcha.
And, I just gotten a pickup that was done by Jesse James, and the guy, I picked it up at Southside Towing. He was drunk or something. I don't know the story. He ran into the railroad arm on South Lamar, somewhere in that area.
God damn.
And it was a truck had been completely redone by Jesse James, and then now I got it. And I ended
What
up
kind
with
of truck
the car.
was that?
It was like a 70 model, long wheelbase Chevy pickup. And it had all the stuff, but the block was cracked because he hit that thing probably going at 100 miles an hour.
No shit.
And then he ended up giving me the title to it, you know. So that kind of started getting, he came and we filmed that and a bunch of other stuff. And they didn't realize how much stuff. He goes, man, now, and I'd already opened up my recycling yard by then.
You had acres. You got acres back there.
Yeah, it's about 3 acres, 3.5 acres.
Loaded with cars,
And so they would come in and they started filming. Oh, we didn't know you had this, and so then so I started telling them about stuff that I'd already been doing with the movies and commercials and stuff like that.
Right.
And then so that came off, and then when we were done, the owner of Velocity, he and I are sitting there. He goes, Steve, I need to tell you, he's from New Zealand, so it's like an Australian accent.
Right.
He goes, you sure in the hell talk funny. I said, God damn, you talk funny. So we just start laughing, so, and everybody was around us. And
they would expect you to speak like East LA or some shit. You don't speak like that around here.
But, growing up as a kid, I was always around cars and stuff like that. I had a lot of interest, and I would go hang out at people's shops all day, and once they got to know me, it was like, oh, you want to sweep up, clean up, do whatever,
Get in
then getting into the metal, listening to a lot of, country music, Bob Wells, Waylon Jennings, back in the day,
it was always mixed feelings, man, between, with me when I moved here, it was mixed feelings because I remember when they asked me, you know who Michael Jackson is? Yeah. You know so? No. You know so? No. Yeah. Or Urban Cowboy movie? Oh yeah. I get all the names and but Kenny Rogers and all that shit. But man, somebody some offbeat
Mickey Gilley
from Mickey Gilley, all that we all know that. But we wouldn't know nothing but we wouldn't know the names to the rock and roll dudes from the '60s. All the rock and roll. I didn't know half of that shit. But I knew a bunch of the Western. Country,
I knew some of those. Because I was very diversified growing up. I hung around a lot of people. Yeah. And I was friends with everybody. And I never made any enemies, tried not to have any enemies. And the thing about it, if you said, hey, this guy's not worth the crap, you got to watch him. I always gave everybody the benefit of the doubt. They would have to show me.
Yeah, if you didn't do it to me, he's good, right?
Yeah, and a good story to follow. I got a beach house down at Rockport at Holiday Beach. Yeah. And there was this guy, everybody kept warning me in the whole neighborhood, the homeowner association, watch this guy. He was I'd say he was a little bit older than me, a white guy, all tattooed. You could tell he'd been locked up. But, everybody said he was the biggest thief in town and, everything. Shit. And, I would always wave to him and, I'd ride bikes every now and then. Not for health, just to ride because I was too lazy to move around. So I'd go down by the swimming pool just a couple blocks away from where my house was. Yeah. And then the guy, one day, he's coming, it's hot as hell, I can't stop my lawnmower. And he goes, hey, you need help? You want me to cut your grass? I said, what are you going to charge me? He goes, no, I'll just help you. I said, no, I'm going to pay you. So I ended up paying the guy $60. I said, well, hey, I don't stay. He goes, I know. I'll see you when you come in. And he goes, do you mind if I cut your grass? I said, what are you going to charge me? He goes, I'll cut and weed eat it for $60 every month and a half, you know. And I said, yeah, that's cool. So, I'd either send him money because, I'd go to Walmart and, I'd wire him the money or I'd drop it off or pay him ahead of time. And this went on for over a year and a half. And everybody's like, Steve, who's that guy's cutting your grass? I said, no, he's cool.
Yeah.
And then he said, hey, I'm going to be moving up north, in about another 4 or 5 months, and he'd go. And my mom always had, she'd always go to the beach house and check. She had a bad habit of not locking the door right upstairs because you had to kind of pull it and wiggle it. It was up, a 2-story house.
They're all upstairs.
Up on piers,
piers,
And then he called me one day. He goes, hey, Steve, I just want to let you know I was in your house. I think your mom was here a couple of days ago, and the door's been open for 2 days.
Yeah.
He goes, I went in there. He goes, your TVs and everything, somebody would have stolen a pawn. He goes, I'm just letting you know. And then I told everybody in that neighborhood. Yeah. Then they started wanting to use him to cut the grass, and I said, look, and they said, and he goes, look, you're the only dude that ever gave me a chance in this whole community. He goes, nobody else, because I came from jail, prison, whatever.
Yeah.
And I said, dude, I said, I treat everybody the same, so, he goes, now I'm cutting all your neighbors' yards, but now I'm moving, and I hate to move because now my business is doing good,
Wow.
He goes, I've bought me a riding mower and everything else,
shit.
so, so.
He's rolling.
Yeah,
well,
so
good,
he's doing
man.
good. So.
You also had a guy that was working at your body shop or just in the salvage area. He was a blonde-headed kid. And
yes, that was my ex-brother-in-law, Roger.
Was it Roger?
Roger Wimberly,
Dude,
yeah.
I could not believe he took that 56 Chevy
Yeah.
and built it the way it was.
Yep.
And all he would do is throw it on the street.
Yeah,
do a
go
60
back and
foot
forth and then come back around, park it.
Dude, it had center lines.
To drive.
Yeah, it had center lines. It had I don't even know, a tunnel ram maybe.
Yeah.
Dude, it was a badass, because they painted.
We painted it orange with the cream color back. And
yeah, it was a badass car.
And we built that car. It was one that I got in. No motor, no nothing. And, he and I worked on the motor, built it, and he wanted to learn how to build cars. And so I had me a grunt.
Dude, but he built like one of the baddest freaking cars. And all I would ever see is he would go from that pole to that pole and come back and park it.
Yeah, and there's still no traffic, but he wouldn't drive it. And, I think
Mickey Thompson, those Super Sports.
It was nice. We had all the interior done in it.
Yeah.
And then, but he would never drive it, just do that. And then one day his older brother came in and said, hey, I want to buy that car.
He sold it.
And he sold it to his brother.
Yeah.
And his brother said, well, I don't have the money. Let me pay you the payments. And he goes, Steve, what should I sell it for? I said, man, let him for like $3,000, And
car today is probably worth
like
$15, $20.
Yeah, easy, because we did all the body work, and I showed him how to do body work
clean.
and stuff, and mechanic, and he was real knowledgeable. That guy had photographic memory. I got photographic memory, but I don't have no film.
Me neither. I don't have a time frame.
I wanted that, But you tell him this is what you need to do, and that guy, he would remember every step. And, so he straightened out the car, and, he did a lot of it himself. Yeah. And I helped him with, getting my interior guys and, other guys that I was using. Of course, everything was low end. And we did all the interior in that car probably for like $500.
No, man, that was one of the coolest
it was beige
cars.
interior.
Yeah.
And what the messed up part was is his brother gave him like $500 because he wanted to buy something else. He goes, well, he's going to pay me some more next month.
Never paid him.
No, he did. But on the way taking it to the house, a guy pulled over and said, hey, y'all want to sell that car? He said, well, I just sold it. Roger said, I just sold it to my brother.
Yeah.
He goes, yeah, give me $8,000 for it, or whatever it was. Back then, $8,000.
Yeah.
And the guy said, all right, well, follow me. So the guy paid him all cash.
Damn.
And then he said, well, Roger, I'll start paying you next month. That, to me, that was a screwed up deal.
To this day, when I go to the Lone Star Roundup, there's always this burnt orange 56 Chevy on center lines. And I'm always wondering, man, if it's that same freaking car, man, that was at your shop for the longest. And I see it sometimes at Little River, show up, but it looks almost identical, and I think it's even changed hands.
Yeah, there's something we did in the trunk that I can't remember what we did, and I know Roger might remember.
Yeah.
If we looked in that trunk, if they didn't replace it, I would say, yeah, that's the car.
That's the car.
But
Wow.
there's something in the trunk that we did that it stands out from all the other ones, and it's not an eyesore, none of that. It's something that we did.
Yeah.
We either cut and put in a panel or did something, or we welded something up in there. But somebody that doesn't know cars, they'll never know that wasn't supposed to be
you'll
there.
know. So I guess that's how you can identify it.
And that's how I know that I could identify it, because I know what it should look like, and I was like, oh yeah, that's what we did. But I can't remember what we did. But it was something we did inside the trunk that would, be an identifier.
Crazy. So moving on to the president after COVID.
All right.
2 weeks ago, you weren't in Austin. You were down in L.A.
Yes, I was in Los Angeles, Hollywood, California.
You took how many cars?
I only took one car that we did, but they had other cars there that I helped them move around, because nobody knew how to drive 3 on a tree.
Oh my God!
The column on the thing, and that's what I learned.
I'm old now, man. I feel old.
And
I'm only 30.
And there's all these millenniums getting paid, godly amount of money, and they can't move the cars.
They can't drive a standard period.
Would you get involved with the Kurt Russell Icy Hot that they filmed here, where he had the Nova?
Oh, the Nova with the skull?
Yeah.
Yes, I got the end of that.
The rally wheels on that car, those came off my Camaro. So they got famous, the wheels got famous, and I didn't.
Yeah. Actually, I ended up with through Frank Hendricks. I think I ended up with about 8 of those cars. There was more than one.
Yeah.
That was
the silver one.
Wasn't it Death
Proof?
Those girls that have their feet up on the dash and stuff. Pretty gory movie. Yeah.
That silver car.
Wasn't that a Robert Rodriguez film?
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
Quentin Tarantino, Robert Rodriguez.
Yeah. Frank Hendricks, I think he's just recently started his pre-production thing again, but he was into a lot of that. And he did him and Josh Rodriguez. They were doing Texas something where they would go and buy cars at auctions, rebuild them and sell them.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And he, and then he would Frank Hendricks was getting the cars from me right before it canceled out on it. They were going to do a bunch of 56 Ford Crown Victorias.
Oh, wow.
So, and I had taken like 5 or 6 over there, and we staged them all in his yard.
Wasn't there one where they got the unibody Ford truck? There was one in the show.
Yes.
That was one. Then there was a Mustang.
I think theirs was Texas Car Wars. I think
was that Texas Car Wars? Because you were in that one too, right? Were you?
No. I was supplying some of the vehicles for them.
Okay.
But that was at Rodriguez, and
he was doing that. Yeah, he was doing that, and they would call me, hey, and they knew I had cars. If I didn't have them, I knew somebody that did. Of course, yeah. And that's what got me in, because I did a lot for Fear the Walking Dead when they came to Austin. Not the first year, but I got onto it, thanks to
because they filmed that in Lockhart, right? Or something like that?
They filmed it everywhere.
Everywhere, okay.
Matter of fact, down the road here, Dale Diamond.
Yeah.
When they did that big apocalyptic, when everything burned up, I supplied 95% of all the burnt vehicles, because we were going through a burn ban going in. But we've been doing stuff with the volunteer fire department since the 70s. My dad,
okay,
because we had tow trucks, and then my paint and stuff. So back then, a lot of volunteers, and then the county took over, and we would let them come cut up cars, burn cars, whatever they wanted to do.
Wow.
So they said, well, we can't burn any what cars we're in the county. Yeah. So I said, I can burn them.
I can burn them.
They called me.
I got that license.
Then we took them to our yard. What I didn't have there already, or I would take some to the fire station, and then we would burn 10 cars at a time. God damn. Because instead
of lucky dude,
instead of one big pile of smoke, we had one big pile instead of every hour having
another
so
car.
I said, hey, just bunch them up, and then they throw the flares, and the fire department would call them in as training.
Damn.
There you go. Training.
So a lot of these guys that I grew up with, he also has not only does he have a connection with Stuntman Juan, or Taco Juan, or High RPMs.
Donnie.
We bought Donnie, because I used to race with Donnie, but he's also associated with Donnie in the movies. Tell us a little bit on another side about Donnie and his toilets and his buses.
Okay. Donnie, he started getting some buses. And he had just regular buses.
Yeah.
He started buying just school buses, so then the people contacted me.
He's probably on the highway right now on a bus.
He's up buying them. I think he needs to go see a therapist.
Something's wrong. He offered me a stainless steel toilet to sit on right here. So
So what happened is, I think they were filming Walker Ranger or something, and they needed a bus. So I told the movie guy, hey, come over here, talk to this guy.
Short bus.
And Donnie had one of the buses, so I hooked them up, and then Donnie started getting, and then they were going to need prison buses for another movie that was coming up.
Yes.
So then Donnie took it and ran with that. So, kind of like I did, you know, but.
He looks at a map. He points down. I know he said it, right?
So he started getting in with that, and then getting Crown Vic says, "Hey, Donnie, we're gonna need a police car for this."
Dude, one of his Crown Vics ate it, man.
Oh yeah, the wind fell on the Chronic.
Yeah. One of them, the big steel containers.
Yeah.
Who would have thought, man, that a steel container would blow off of the other one and just crush his favorite Crown Vic that he had? You know, it was a FBI car.
Out of the wind.
Just ruined it. Yeah. And I think he just barely this week or
he just lifted it off about 2 weeks ago or so.
That should tell you how hard it hurt, right? Yeah. that it messed him up.
So Donnie's doing real good. A lot of the movie stuff. So I'm glad for him. But it's all of us together.
Yeah.
You know, even if we don't talk to each other for several years, 20 years, 10 years, there's still a connection through cars between us. Always. You know, cars are something automotive related, friendship, you know.
Yeah. Always seen you passing on the road, right? And I always recognize a car that you have there. I think I saw a Suburban, really high lifted Suburban.
Advertisement.
I drove that one. I didn't drive it. I cruised in it before you ended up with it and turned it into that. There's been quite a bit of cars that you've gone through. And at one point or another, man, there's a friend or somebody that built it or bought it from somebody.
Yeah, and you wouldn't believe how many times said my dad came here when we were learning to drive to buy cars from you. And then, you know, I'm feeling old as shit now.
Yeah, man, it's like,
but, you know, I was doing this shit when I was 15, 16 years old, 17. You know, they said, hey, we got this Honda, you know, 80 model Honda. And to me, that's, you know, I'm like, oh shit, that's only a couple years old. You know, it needs this and that. And then, you know, I figure out what to do. And then my brother, Rick, the oldest one, he got into Honda. So I said, Rick, what's wrong with this? And he'll patch it up. And I bought it for $100 or $50, you know, back then. And then I said, well, you know, I'm selling it for $800, $1,000. I'm like, shit, I'm getting banked. You know, I didn't go to your road. So then I get that, and I'll go buy. You know, one thing that I learned, one of my Uncle Henry said, Steve, if you buy something, don't go spend all your money on something else. Buy something or two things that you can always fall back on. Right. And that's always stuck with me, you know. And I would always buy something right away. And then I got that. And it's junk to somebody, but to me, that's money in the bank.
Now, why is that chop top Ford always been around? You've never gotten rid of that car.
Actually, I did.
You did get rid of that car?
You know who got it? Juan got it. Juan got it?
Yeah. No shit. Well, Juan done flipped that mother.
He flipped it right away. Man. You know, I think he bought his first gold tooth with it.
Yeah, he did, man.
But, you know.
Juan saw gold in that. That's Steve.
You know,
everybody's going to know that.
And what it was is he, you know, that's when I was getting into the tow truck scene. And I got tired of my mobile home axle trailer. And so I traded.
I want that.
I traded him that for the wrecker, and he got the better deal.
Damn.
That truck I got from used to be, I think Jesse revealed. No.
The other one.
That chop top.
Yeah.
Oh. That shoebox Ford.
Yeah.
So you know, that one I had it running, driving, everything, all the glass in it. I mean, it was ready to go. Yeah. But
you had louvers.
I had louvers pressed in the guy that used to, you know. But you know, and I'm learning all this because I'm hanging around the old guys that nobody wants to pay attention to, and those guys are like my idols on building cars. Like, ooh, what's that in the hood? I didn't know what a goddamn louver was, you know. But I knew I wanted that on my car.
Were they stamped on, or you had to weld them on?
No, they were stamped on. And there was a guy in Manchac. Yeah. They would do it, and all the old guys knew him. Said, "Oh, he's getting out of it. He doesn't do it." And then my dad, he was working at Brackenridge down there, and they were building that crosswalk, and they needed vents, and they wanted something heavy duty that the kids couldn't kick out and fall through. Right. So my dad got a hold of that guy that does louvers in Manchac.
Yeah, we're going to pay you this.
And, you know,
he got back into
it. My son was working after all.
Because, you know, I hope a lot of the movie guys aren't watching me, but if it ain't my money and you're my friend and I know what their budget is, I'm hooking you up. You know, because I want to pass the wealth up to, you know, everybody needs a break in the day. You know, something. And, you know, now I know why that the movies cost millions of dollars,
Hey,
you know.
Because they unlimited budgets, man.
There's somebody at the top, man. Just
Yeah.
I'm gonna make my money either way.
Yeah.
You know, he makes his money 3-4 times over.
Yeah, they spend $30 million on a movie, then you find out it made $70 million. You know.
Yeah.
So you know, and it's just stuff like that. But you know, and I go back to when I first started crushing guys. You know, I got taken a lot because I didn't know the business.
Yeah.
I was learning, and them guys are coming out crushing my cars. You know, they were out of Smithville.
Yeah.
And they would say, "Oh, I mean, I ain't gonna say their name, but a lot of people know who they are." But you know, what it is
business,
I'm a young kid. You know, 18, 19 years old, and I got 100 cars I'm crushing.
Mm-hmm.
They're paying me $20,000, $30,000. I'm like, "Ooh, shit, I did good."
Yeah.
Well, that wasn't even a third of what I should have been getting.
Right,
but I didn't know. You know, I got them
Yeah.
cars for free, and I got a big bank right there. You know, so the first thing I do is go buy out more cars. You know.
Damn. Well, I know that there's a lot of people that have tried to follow in your footsteps. You know, Juan was one of them because Juan's he's a little bit older than me, but we all would, you know, going to high school, would always pass up. You're a little bit older than us, not by much.
Yeah, y'all more Arlie's age.
Yeah, but you've been in the game since I was in like 9th, 10th grade, you know, and so every time we'd pass by, it's like, man,
there was something different out there.
Cool shit. Yeah. Damn, one day we're gonna have to stop by, and you know, I'm a young kid, so I don't want to stop by. It's kind of overwhelming. And then as I get older, now I need a part. Now I need. Damn, he might have. Oh, he's got my fender. Oh shit, you know.
Yeah.
So finally, you stop. You wait at the gate, you know, and you finally come out, and you know, and I think I'm not the only one that did that.
Yeah.
So you know, whoever we bring on here on the show, they're going to have a connection with you in some way or another.
I'm sure.
So like we said, Donnie has a connection. Juan, I've told him, hey, you got to come onto the show. Because Juan also turned me on into the movies as a stand-in. He goes, no, you got to just go over there. And so me and another friend, we went. He did the Alamo, and it turned out they wanted some little Mexicans, and we're big-ass. No, we want some deprived, starving Mexicans. You know, and you're too damn white looking. I'm like, come on, man.
Yeah, they got an outhouse that's only 2 foot wide, and you show up. Back in the day, them guys were weighing 120 pounds.
You're eating good, nobody, you know. So go disappointed. But no, the only freaking movie that I was able to make it into was Idiocracy, and I thought I was gold, man. They said, hey, he picked you out of line up all these photos, and you're supposed to be one of the cop guards that's gonna be up on top. And man, I waited for like 3 hours all morning long. I'm wearing some weird ass shit, a toupee they put on me because my hair was too short, my hair. And turned out I was too short now for the damn part. So instead, I'm at the very bottom of the staircase, and Juan came out, and he's like in a jail scene or some shit. But I think everybody tried hitting the
movie scene.
What was it? Beth Sepko casting. We all tried to. Tommy Lee Jones, he did the cheerleading thing, and they were all over Austin, man, filming, and so
and see, I bringing up Idiocracy. A good friend of mine, Louis Castillo, and his son's in there also. I think he's a lawyer or something. He's Sonny Castillo, and he's a comedian also. So he's doing real good, you know. I think he works at the City of Austin courthouse, you know. So
that's funny. I think one of the other guys that went with me. He went and he's like, you think they're gonna? I said, dude, they're needing people left and right. So he goes in, and I think he's on one of those 3-wheelers, man, with the V8s. And so Lorenzo, what was it, the president Camacho? It was funny, man. So we were laughing our asses off that we came in that weird ass movie, but
it's just funny how a lot of things involved in, you know, it's a small circle, but you don't know how big that small circle is.
Yeah, it keeps on growing. So what was the car that you took for what movie that you went to last week?
Okay, I got a call from one of the movie guys saying, hey, I'm tied up on this. We're going to pass this on to you. They did a remake of Grease, a spinoff. It's called Rise of the Pink Ladies. And they're coming to Austin for South by Southwest a month or so ago. And they're looking for a 40 model Ford. And I watched Grease back in the day, just because of the cars. I wasn't a big fan
Grease
of singing
lightning.
and dancing,
Nah.
but I'm a car fan,
Right.
if there's a car, then I'm gonna watch it regardless.
You like those chop saw blades.
Yeah.
Grease lightning.
So then they called me and then they said, okay. Well, I said, all right, well, give me a week. I'm gonna look around, see what I can find. I said, I know I don't have a 40 model Ford convertible, but I can find one.
Yeah.
And they said, well, we found one up in Canada, and it's going to be like $30,000 to get the car, and then we're going to have to redo it to make it because the car, it's a nice car, but it's not what they want.
Right.
So then after a week goes by, I said, well, you know what? All I can find is a 46 Ford convertible. Send me a picture of what you got. Well, they send me a picture, and I'm like, God damn, that's the car that I found. I've had it the whole time,
Yeah, you got the wrong year model.
Yeah, somebody didn't know what they were looking for.
Right.
And that's why now I always said, I've always, when I learned this a couple years back.
Yeah, send me some pictures.
Send me a bus. Well, your bus and my bus is different. I got a short bus and you want a long bus.
Right,
you want a prison bus. You want a school bus. So everybody, so I said, okay, well, I got the car. They said, well, can you get us pictures of it? So the next day I go, I found the car in Lockhart of my buddy Ivan Sanchez. He had the car. He goes, oh, it's been sitting for 30 years,
Oh, shit.
And no interior, no paint, no body work. So I sent them pictures of it, and they said, well, I asked them, well, what are y'all going to do with it? So they're still kind of running me on the third party. So I said, well, I need to talk to somebody, that knows what's going on. So then we start weeding it out to cut, because now we're getting in crunch time, South by Southwest is less than 2 weeks away, and it's a week and a half's already gone by. So they said, okay, well, we're going to bring it for South by Southwest. We did the Grease movie, and then they start telling me, because a lot of times they'll first tell you, they don't tell you what they're doing, what's going on, or whatever. So as you proceed, then you find out a little bit more every time. You get a little bit bite of what's going on. So they said, okay, well, send us a picture of the car. So I sent them the car. They said, okay, well, does it run? I said, no, it does not run. No exhaust.
Nothing.
No brakes, no motor, no transmission. I mean, the motor's in there, but no paint job, no interior. No, nothing, no lights and anything.
Damn.
They said, okay. Then they said, well, we just need it for a movie prop. We're going to just set it on the back. I said, okay, we can push it there. We can get a tow truck, get it on scene. So where's it going to be? They said it's going to be at a place called the Clove or Clive on Ramey Street and Davis. It's a 3-story building. We're going to do a premiere there for South by Southwest, because they also do the filming along with the music. The music, I think the movie stuff comes the first week, and then after that, it's all music.
So it's going to be a movie skit, like one of those
it's a
dance.
It's a musical.
And it's out right now on Paramount Pictures. It's called Grease, Rise of the Pink Ladies. And then I think all the filming was done in Canada. So then they say, okay. And then I said, well, I give them pictures, and I said, well, there's no interior. I said, well, go back and look at my Texas. I said, no, not running, no interior, no nothing. It's just a car. Y'all want a movie prop? There's a shell. You can sit there. Okay, well, do you think you can get it black for us, satin black or a matte black? I said, well, we're going to have to knock out some dents and do a little bit of work. It's not ready for that, So they said, okay, and everything's still waiting, because you got to wait till they give you the green light to go. So, and then we're down, under 2 weeks already. And they're still going. And then they're saying, well, it's missing a back seat. I said, I told you it was missing a back seat. I gave you pictures. That's how you know it's not, so.
Who am I talking to now?
So then it's going back and forth, and I'm not good at texting, and a lot of them said, I need to talk to somebody. Let me talk to somebody. Because I'm still in the Stone Age.
Texting's for the shit.
I think my MySpace is still up that my brother set up for me. Anyway, so
am I even talking to Steve when I text him? It's like, I don't know.
So anyway, it's getting there, and I said, okay, so we got a 60-40 seat out of a Chevy pickup, fitted in the back, and then put the bottom in, and then made it work. And it was a little low, and the car wasn't even a real convertible, but nobody knew the difference, because they don't know what they're looking at. So it's a chop top that was going to get a Carson top on it. I believe that's what the car was going to get. But it had the look that they wanted, and it turned out that was the main car that they were using in the show. So you know, and they said, well, could you get the seats reupholstered? I said, we don't even have seats, you know, so what do y'all want? We're running out of time.
Yeah.
So we pretty much built that car, got exhaust, everything like in 3 days, literally.
Crunch time.
Yeah, crunch time. And I had the upholstery guy come out. He goes, what do I do back here? I said, you're the upholstery guy. What do you think? You know, and I was listening. I got always an idea in my head, but I want to hear what your thought is because he goes, I don't know what to do, you know.
Toilet
and I said, well, we're going to use these seats. We already got the seats because we got the green light, and it's the first day of day 3. So, you know, we got the seats already in, and we're putting them in, and then I'm sending them pictures. And they said, well, can you have somebody sit on the back? We want to see what it looks like. And I said, well, there's nothing there. We just got this. We're holding it with baling wire to the back. And I said, but I can build you a thing in the back if you're going to use it for people. Yeah. Then they said, yeah, we're going to use it for people to sit on.
So you need a pedestal or stand or something. Yeah.
So we got a 2x10 and put 2x8s underneath it. And I put them like where 2 or 3 people can sit in the back on top of the back seat. So I had them level. So I told the upholstery guy, cover all this. We're going to build this thing here. And then while the guy's working on the motor and transmission and stuff, I got a guy, you know, beating out some more dents and getting it ready to get painted. Then I got the upholstery guy there. Then I got another guy cutting the wood so we can make the thing for the seat.
3 weeks? Or
3 days.
3 days.
Yeah. Because we're already there. South by Southwest. They want the car delivered. I think it was
running.
Yeah, running, so they can drive it up on the ramps.
Holy shit!
You know, so and I
3
said,
days, dude.
you know, so I called my buddy Mike Ellis.
They should have had a reality TV camera show on you.
Something just a fast zoom.
And so then the upholstery guy shows up at 6 in the morning, and I said, look, get those tube things they use in swimming pools. I don't know what they are, but they're little. And we're gonna make that. You're gonna cover it. And then we're going to put buttons on the outside.
Make it look like a.
But he didn't come up with that idea. I was waiting. You know, when I was asking him, you know, what are your ideas? You know, and I got an idea of what they want, and I know what I would like to see.
Right.
You know, so, you know, and then a lot of times when them guys, it's not their ideas, it's not right. You know, but I said, well, this is how you're doing it. You know, so we do that, and it comes out, and I said, leave extra material because we're going to have to build foam. I said, if you don't have enough foam with you, we got these junk cars. We're going to go cut a seat and we're going to build balls and you wrap them with the spray. And we're going to shove them in them holes to fill in, you know, to fill in the gaps. And that way, and it looked good. I said, you know, so, you know, and then I said the door panel's just smooth. And the guy was building the hideaway locks way ahead of his time on, you know, that car had been sitting for 30 years.
Oh, but somebody was building those?
They were building on that door. I don't know if it was Ivan or somebody else had a lock car, you know, and they were there. So my buddy Mike Ellis, which happened to be the son-in-law of Albert Martinez, who drove the old stock car back, you know, Fat Albert from the Rally Ramp. So it's funny how, you know, he came and got it running. Put distributors, put carburetors, put exhaust manifolds on it.
What did it have? Would it have a flathead?
No, it had a V8, a small block 350. Okay. Yeah, but it was already in there with no carburetor, no nothing. Gotcha. So then, man, in an hour and a half, he had that thing running.
Damn.
You know, and you know, and I said, you know, and that guy's, you know, that's, you know.
Yeah, man.
He took care of him, but he's been around cars. He works on a lot of my cars, does fabrications and stuff.
Do it in sleep.
And, you know, and he said, well, do you need me to come back at night? I'll work on it all night. I said, well, come look at what you're doing. You know, and that come look at what you're doing. Hour and a half later, it's running.
Damn.
He had to go back. Like that, man. He had to go back and get distributors and other stuff that he needed and fuel pumps and do this and that. And, you know, and he got it going. So it's running now. He goes, what else you want me to do? I said, man, they got these door locks we can't figure out. He's a fabricator. He's got a crazy mind. You know,
something pop lock, something.
And I said, we don't have time. The door panel's already made. We can't go and cut them. And
just make it where they open and close, right?
And so he looked at it, took the door panel off, and then I said, man, I got to go. I got to go get more material for, you know, we're doing something else on the car, so I got to go get more supplies. And I think I had to go get him new spark plug wires or so. I don't know what it was.
Yeah, shit.
So I get back, he goes, I'm done. He goes, what do you mean? He goes, I only did one door, the driver's door. That's all you need. I said, well, that's all they need if that's all I need. So,
right.
And what he did is he built he figured it out. He built, wherever it was, he built a rod coming out like a clothes hanger, but it was like, I don't know, like a brazen rod or something.
Right.
And then Cat had come up and built like a little triangle on it to go into the other hole that was on the door. So you had a little triangle thing sticking up on top that was probably about this tall, from this. He goes,
just pull it.
Yeah, everybody thought you pull it. He goes, no, everybody would pull it and pull out. He goes, no. He goes, hit it down. Hit it with the palm of your hand. You go and hit it like that. The door opens. Yeah, the door pops open. That's crazy. But it took the guys in California a while to figure it out. That rod was almost straightened out. I had to go back and bend it back. I said no, and I said, look, whoever's in charge of the car, this is what you need to do.
Yeah.
So they passed
down
it
the
on.
marker.
So the car got finished, it got displayed in Austin. Then they actually busted over to California.
What happened is,
you drove it over there, right?
What happened? They liked it. My girlfriend Shannon, she said, "Hey, let's go to the premiere." They invited us because I get invited to a lot of stuff and I never go. I'm like a bump on the log, And, I get invited to all these car things and I'm like, I'm tired. I'm gonna rest, I'm gonna have to bathe, So there's downfalls to everything.
Hey,
so anyway, they said, we're going to come. And she said, okay, let's go. And she goes, let's go get us something that'll match the car.
Holy shit.
And I'm like, where are we going to get shit like that? She goes, there's a party barn in Oak Hill. Let's go.
Party barn in Oak Hill, wow.
I'm like, we're not getting balloons. I'm thinking balloons, party hats.
She got the decor and
Go
everything.
back to those photos and see.
I'll be damned. We walked in and they have a pink lady's jacket turned around.
So you're wearing pink?
The Thunderbird, No, they had the T-Bird jacket next to it. Imitation leather. Wow. So she bought that. She bought the whole outfit.
Okay, I did glance that
out. So
out.
then we went to South by Southwest. Wearing that. And we were like a big hit. They thought we were part of the movie, and we weren't. Everybody was.
John Travolta
the guy from Paramount Picture was like, "Do they work for us? Who are they?" They said, "No, that's the guy that did the car in 3 days."
Wow,
so they know me as a 3-day car builder.
Sweet.
So then. It was a big hit. They were thanking us, and everybody loved that car because they were letting them take pictures in the car.
Yeah, wow.
They had jackets made that say the pink lady that the girls would put on because it was mainly for the women.
Yeah, like a prop, so they had like a prop where you could put.
And then like this whole room, they had like a drive-in theater. If you look at my pictures on Facebook, they had where
Steve
you drive
Reyes.
in, and then you could see. Like old cars from the 50s, they had all what is it called? That lamination on the walls, where you were like at a theater with all the cars in the background at a driving scene.
Oh, yeah.
But my pictures did do it justice. Yeah, the background. And
but you built the main.
I built the main movie prop that they use, and then
so it runs in 3 days.
Yeah, so they liked it, and they said, so we picked the car up when we were done. We took it back home. Then the next day they called me. That said, hey, I'm so and so from Paramount Pictures. We heard your car was a big hit. We would like to invite you to California and see if we want to see about renting the car for 6 months. Because they have other premieres that they're going to be doing, smaller premieres.
Wow.
But they want it there for the main premiere.
So they paid you to build the car, but it's still your car?
It's my friend's car. He ended up with the deal. They rented the car from him just for that night. But in turn, he got a driving car upholstery. And and there's no budget on it when it's we want
you gotta make it.
And once I started sending them pictures as we progressed, every couple of hours well, when did you do this? We're doing it right now. We just finished. So, well, keep going. I said, well, where do I stop at?
Yeah.
We'll tell you, just,
wow.
The money's there. Just keep doing what you need to do. So,
and then once you get it for renting for the simulator, then they charge it's like a daily thing that they rent, or is it like a monthly charge?
It's a monthly thing. So I said, well, it's not my car. They wanted to rent it. I said, let me talk to my buddy Ivan. And I said, Ivan, it's your car. If you want, they want to buy it. They wanted to buy it was their first thing. And so they made an offer, and I already knew what they were going to spend over there, and I knew what already we've spent on the car.
Seasoned veteran.
So then I said, we can squeeze a little bit more. They offered this, but we can
make
around.
more money in the long run.
And I said, think about it. Let me know tomorrow. Yeah. They're not in a hurry. It's your car. You decide.
It is, yeah.
I said, but if you release it to them, you got monthly checks coming in, and you got the movie car when it's done. It's been all over the country to premieres.
Yeah.
And the best thing that can happen to it is something messes up on the car because they're going to fix it.
They're going to pay for it, right?
Yeah, and I said, a lot of my friends, say if you have a car, I'll say, hey, Paul, let me borrow your car. no, man, I don't want them to scratch it. And I run into that with a lot of guys with decent cars or nice cars. I said, man, they got millions of dollars, you know.
Give you another one, man.
Yeah, the worst thing you can do is get triple your value of your car or get your car repaired in better shape.
Better shape than what it was before.
And, you know, guys are starting to realize, well, Steve's not bullshitting. We should have listened to him. Hey, here's my car. No, they needed your car 5 movies ago, you know. Yeah. And, like, what I do is I try to keep a stock of basic cars, Crown Victorias, Chargers, you know, trucks, different things. Yeah. Well, for police cars, DPS cars.
DPS cars.
And I got like, I got an armored vehicle, actually an old APD SWAT vehicle that they used to use here.
You got one over there at your shop?
Yeah, I got it at the shop. I got a Brinks armored truck.
You never know.
That Ben Affleck.
A Brinks? Damn, we gotta make a movie on that one.
That one had to cut. Yeah, they did filming here. I can't remember what the movie was. And they actually filmed at our yard in front, where him and his girlfriend get in front and they're driving south. They're going to Mexico.
Is that
and I got cattle now, so they were having trouble. It's during the drought. Yeah. They're looking for hay. Well, goddamn, I got a bunch of hay. So they want to rent bales of hay for me. So
bales of hay?
So I rent them 42 bales of hay at $16 a bale, I think, whatever the market was. And then I get them back when they're done. Because they don't ever want to own nothing. They always want to rent.
So, of course, it makes sense. Yeah.
So they shut down the highway and they did like 5 cuts, you know, in the front of our thing. Yeah. So I think the movie might be out already. I don't know if it's a Netflix or what it was, but I know Ben
Affleck.
Yeah, Ben Affleck in it, and it's his girlfriend, and they're going back to Mexico, and he's like in
I've seen that on Netflix.
He's like in a 70 model 1.5-ton truck, a flatbed. Shit. You know, and then it dies out on the road, and then of course there's no car guys there, and I sit there, and they got 2 or 3 guys that are saying they're car guys, so I sit there and wait to see what's going on, and
I'll go fix it.
They said, call Steve, you know. So I walk over there, and it's just a bad connection. Something's killing the motor, you know. It's on the distributor. I said, well, what's it doing? You know, it's just dying out. You know, I said, well, crank it. It's not doing nothing. So I just tracked down a couple.
This is you in the movie?
No, I didn't fix it. Yeah, I
had to fix it.
Because it's broke down. Real life. Yeah, it's broke down on the road. They got the whole highway blocked off to film in front of our yard right there on 183.
Damn.
You know, and then they're using my scrapyard and towing truck and everything in the background.
But they blocked fucking 183 right
there?
Yeah,
they shut it down. And right now it's busy. It's not like it was back in the 70s and 80s.
Yeah, no, it was busy as hell.
You know, now they put a light at the corner.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you know, like for me to pull out in the morning, I got to just kind of...
I must have run that light. I must have run that light not knowing there's a light there then because, man,
but anyway, so, you know, it's just different things like that. You know, and then there's one where that's on my Facebook a couple years back. They had one of I think it's called, I don't know, it's a high-end Rolls Royce, Bentley or whatever, a convertible, a Shadow or some Phantom or something. And the guy told me the car's worth like $800,000. It was the first one in Texas, and they're going to a photo shoot.
Yeah.
And they happen to be driving by my yard.
Damn.
And that guy's...
I'm telling you, he's got a key location.
They're going out to where there's nice trees and everything. Yeah. And the photographer said, no, let's stop here. And they ended up using that car in magazines.
Yeah.
And we're not smart enough to say, oh, what magazine is it in? So I'm sure it's in a high-end magazine or
they took a picture in front of your place, pretty much?
No, they went by the scrap pile where all the junk is. And they got the car parked there. And they were showing us the pictures. Well, he let me get in there, and I just gotten back from the bank getting change, and I had, I think, a bunch of 5s and 10s. So I'm sitting in there with a wad of cash, and the door open, and they put, you know, my son or my son or Harley or somebody put, you know, scrap. Who says scrap metal doesn't pay off?
$high car, right?
Yeah, that car, you know, the scrap metal's behind us, and you know, but they've done a lot. They actually did some Christian videos at my recycle with the cars. Yeah, Christian videos from Houston and Dallas.
Wow.
And then they've done a couple heavy metal. I don't know what the heck they were saying.
Music videos
or grunting or
whatever. They were saying.
Yeah, they've done like, and then they did a short film there. They've done several short films using some of my old cars. But this one, the guy looked like Danny DeVito wearing coveralls, and the other guy looked like Sling Blade. And they filmed the whole thing, and what it was based on is a girl couldn't afford to be in a sorority with her friends or something, going to college. So her other friend says, well, hey, my mom has a house out in the country. They filmed the other half in Taylor, and the guy, he's like a landlord. Well, my house, you know, it's got a lot of rooms in it right there at the yard. So they use it as a apartment fourplex, you know. So they hired a band to come in, and they cleaned everything out of one of the rooms. Yeah. And they set up a band in there. What? No shit. And then the other room they set up for like a bunch of young teenager kids, like probably junior high kids going into freshmen. No and they're all smoking the fake weed and everything in there, playing their music. And in the other room, they have some drunk making noise. In the other room, they did other stuff. So, you know, they had it filmed. So what they did
was somebody stalking all these people or something.
Yeah, no, what it is, the guy, he's wearing like polyester pants pulled up with all his junk showing with the belt tucked in, you know, and you know exactly. But you know he's the manager of the apartment, which is my house. So he's looking at that girl, and the girl was dressed real nice, of course, blonde hair and everything.
I can't picture how they converted your house, man, because it looks like a house.
It does, but when you go inside, I initially built it as offices. So I got one for my scrapyard, and then the other one for my towing side, and then I got the other ones for offices in the back, and we ended up just making a house out of it, you know. But so when so they were doing it, so he's in there checking the girl out the whole time, and then you know that's exactly what he's doing, and then he's looking at her. So they go into the room and they got the band playing. He goes, "Oh, don't worry about it." He goes, "What time?" "Oh, they usually stop when it's daylight, like they're playing all night." you know, and then they go there, and then they got that smoke coming out from the bottom of the door. He knocks on it. "Hey, kids!" And them kids are all smoking.
So was it like a comedy or kind of?
I don't know what it was,
like
but
dark comedy is kind of. Yeah,
what it was is that the girl's grandmother ended up kidnapping her and keeping her in there. Yeah. And Taylor in the basement, and they wanted something because they were going to use my house as a main house. Yeah. And they said, "No, we can use it for this."
But you didn't catch on to the name.
They told me, but
like the magazine.
Yeah,
it's up there.
You know, like I said, I got photographic memory.
It sounds familiar, but I mean, I'm not a big Netflix guy, but I mean, it's that plot sounds kind of.
You know what we can do? We can go on the internet. And just Google all the movies that have been filmed in Austin. I guarantee you probably find it that way.
Well,
was it recent?
They were out of California. It was the people that came.
Okay.
And it was kind of funny because as soon as they finished, Iron Resurrection came and filmed like right after.
Is that right?
I come on there quite a bit, and they've actually been on there. This is their sixth. They actually started last week filming season 7.
Is that
so
right?
They're still filming?
Yeah, they weren't going to do it because right now they're on a 5-year wait to build cars.
Damn.
You know, but they're so busy, and then when they start doing the cars for the show, it sets them back.
Okay. Yeah, because it's a production thing.
And it's a lot of retakes and everything else. So
whose shop is that for Iron Resurrection?
Joe Martin's.
Joe Martin.
He's the Martin Brothers. Yeah, he's originally from Dallas.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
he was into building motorcycles.
Yeah, he built motorcycles, and I went back, and my daughter said, "Look, we had Orange County choppers when they came to the Town Lake at the auditorium, and I'm standing in front of Joe Martin, one of his motorcycle builds for the Bills.
Back then, right?
Back then, didn't know my kids were, little bitty kids, back then,
Yeah, but the Martin Brothers, they're out of Dripping Springs, right?
Yeah, they're in Henley, actually, in Dripping Springs, just west of
They're the ones that they rebuilt the Tweety Bird, the little for
it's a roadster.
Yeah, so like Jimmy and Jimmy Grovo and the brother, they were very well known for the first car club of the Terrapins, or that they were called that, or very early on Austin High School. But they're connected with, again, everything's connected, right? So everybody that we know
is connected.
They're going to be connected one way or another, and. The house that was next to my house on Old Torf, there used to be a green wagon parked all the way to the back. And like I always tell everybody, I was trying to buy that damn thing, and instead I get a big story of who owned it. Turned out it was that guy Hans. It was him and his brothers build from back in the day. But this guy, the Martin Bros guys, they restored that little car for that guy, and so it is the same.
There's a lot of people involved in that build,
right?
So
well,
it was more for. What is it? Memories,
Memories, yeah. They took it to the Roadster.
Iconic, It did real good, in Las Vegas.
Yeah. So that green car, because I was always asking him, "Hey man," his name, they call him Short Man, Andy Rios. I said, "Are you gonna build it? I'd like to buy it." So like every 4 years, I hit him up. No. And out of nowheres, man, he painted the car, pulled the 292, 60 over 33 he had in there, and put a 383 in it. I mean, made it streetable again. And there was this guy that wanted to showcase a bunch of pictures of all the old school racers, and I had all the photos, all the because I've met people since I was a little kid. So I said, yeah, I can make some posters. So he sits up on the F1 track, a restaurant there, and some of these guys had not passed away yet, so they end up showing up over there. And a big article in the Sunday newspaper. And Andy Rios, I guess Jesse James, and if he's here, and he may hear, remember, he wanted to buy it. He wanted to buy the wagon because at that time he had a connection with the Austin Speed Shop.
Yeah,
and I guess he got schooled on who Austin Speed Shop was back in the day real quick, so he wanted that wagon. But Andy goes, nah, I'm not selling it either. And he goes, are you the guy that goes around taking photos? He asked me, you take photos of all these old cars? I said, no. He goes, well, they found me. I said, so what are you going to do? He goes, no, well, they're going to want to showcase my car in the middle of the floor. I said, okay, well, we'll go out there, man. Me and you'll go out there. And so we just shot the shit and mingled in the middle of everybody hanging around. And so they showcased that wagon in there. And like I said, the reason why I'm bringing up this story is because Martin Bros, they also found that car, and Shortman had he'd been there since he was a little kid back in the days, growing up with these guys. So he would always tell me, oh, I know where that car's at. Oh, I know where that motor's at. Oh, yeah, I know where it's at. I'm like, you know where all these are, man? He goes, yeah, but just they're there, but he would never tell me exactly, but I knew, so because of him, I always knew where all this stuff was at. And so again, to this day, he hasn't let go of that wagon. But the reason why I bring this up is because being that you have that salvage, over the years you've come across some famous some cars that you'd like to find out.
There's one particular that I got in a couple years ago. With all the development out in the rural area where we're at, people get bought up, cleaning it out, and it's shaking the brush in the garages, getting tore down. So I'm running across a lot of stuff, and the developers, I got a good relation. Because I got a lot of cattle, and I run cattle, me and my daughter. And
that's cool.
I get to go on the places if we bought 200 acres here, this whole, from this end of the block to that end. We're going to fence it up. We want you to run cows there till we're done. Anything you want there, whatever, it's yours or whatever.
Pick it up,
And then other places where, hey, I'm selling my place, come get my stuff. And I run in across, and one recently that I ran across, it was a Henry J. And I didn't know nothing about this car. It had an old homemade roll cage. It had tin on the side. It had the big old aluminum Krager, or not, the slot wheels on it. With the straight axle and stuff. And as soon as, we go pick it up in our tow truck, we're bringing it in. And then as soon as I get it in, this older black guy goes, hey, is that Mr. Castro's car? Or Castillo or something? I can't remember his name. He owned the cleaners in town. And I said, well, I know that's his wife's name, and I saw a lot of cleaning stuff, steam cleaners, old pressure,
It's got to be it.
And it's got to be it. So I asked his wife, I said, hey, did your husband race? Oh, yeah, he used to race it in Oak Hill at the old drag strip.
Damn,
And so then, I'll be damned, 30 minutes later, some older guys walk, bringing scrap metals, aluminum cans, or beer cans.
Everybody's bam, regular.
Yeah, and they said, hey, that's so-and-so. And then I had a Firebird with the big block that somebody called and said, hey, I bought some property, this car's here. Well, I don't know the guy's name. He was a small black guy that owned that car. It was like when the Firebirds first came out that with the plastic front ends, like 80 model, 82. No, not the big body, the short ones.
The short ones.
I don't know what they're called, like 84, 85, like the
third gen.
Something like
Night Riders.
Like Night Riders, exactly. And it had the paint job, the roll cage, the big block, the power glide transmission on the back.
I wonder if it was the dudes back in the day, black guys back in the day running here in Austin, very famous guys.
Yeah, they were
Marshall's truck.
Yeah, Marshalls. No, not them.
Not those guys? Okay.
No, it wasn't them, because we got one of their Camaros that caught on fire.
Oh, really?
We had that Camaro that set the world record or whatever.
They did
on
some stuff, man, that people don't. I still don't know a lot of history with these guys, but they found a 40 Willis that was parked in the back of, I don't know, grandma's house, something. And one of the guys that I know, he'd been after that car he knew it was there, but it ended up in California, and now it's, I don't know where it's at. I've seen it pop up over the years.
One of the relatives had a 3-window back there that I was after for the long time.
Yeah.
You know, but they would never get rid of it. And I met them through the Wheelers, you know, that used to work for my grandfather. One of the guys, I think he works for Travis County now, and he and I see each other and wave. I don't know if he's the son of Lewis Wheeler or one of the other Wheelers, but they all had green eyes or blue eyes. You know, real cool guys, and we would always run into each other, you know, at cookouts and parties back then, you know.
That yellow 55 Chevy that Austin Speed Shop ended up with it. The guy that I was telling you about, the restaurant at the F1, he bought it, and he actually bought Earl's Pearl, the 55 Chevy, and I actually had worked on that at Twilight Customs on that car way back then, and he fucking wrecked right close to your house, man, going to a show somewhere. That was the end of that car. Don't know what happened to it. Austin V, what is it, the Volkswagen?
Austin VW.
They had it there for the longest. I think that's where he got it from. But he ended up with that 55 Chevy, and it had like a, man, I don't know what it was. It was supposed to be a Mickey Mouse. Instead, it looked like a bear on the door. But that thing, anyway, he picked it up. We started posting some photos. Took it to Mark Halleck's place, and we kind of fixed it up, kind of changed some shit around. They did. I was just relaxing, chillaxing, checking it out. But the car, man, it got famous just in that short amount of time, and Short Man's rear end. Pumpkin went in up under that car. Mark's stuff went in for some spare parts in it, and ended up at the Austin Speed Shop. And who knows what happened to the car? But the car got more famous than what that car really was. Yeah, but it caught traction. But I think the coolest car that has been resurrected is the Tweety Bird car, and then there's another guy, and I knew where the car was at again through Short Man. It was it's a yellow 32, and it came out of California back in the day, and these guys bought it here and raced it. So I think that car is going to come out. Somebody's building it. I don't know who it is. Maybe the Martin Bros. Maybe they'll tell you who has it. But there's some really cool shit that has come out. So I will do some history work on that Henry J. I'll contact Butch Lake.
So you still have it?
I still have the car. And there's another car that I got, and the story, it came out of California, and it was a pretty good story. Bama turned a guy on to me from the radio station.
Okay.
And what happened, it was two friends, high school friends, building this car, this Volkswagen Bug back in '69, where they're in high school, and graduation, they get drafted into the Army, which is Vietnam. Well, one of them doesn't come back.
'69 was a bad year.
And, so the guys, they promised each other they would never get rid of the Bug. And the other friend, kept the car, been dragging it all over. He's moved way up in the northern part of the country, dragged that Bug everywhere he went. And then he called to Bama, reached out to him because of the radio station, and Bama being a car guy, goes, man, I know one person that can do something. He said he may not do it, but he ain't going to let nothing bad happen to the car. Because he said, he's up in age right now, and he goes, I can't do nothing. This is probably 10 years ago or more. And they told me the story about the car. They shortened it. They put a 265 V8, which was back out of the 56 or 55s back then. And the block's still in there. And then they welded hubs on the outside and drilled holes or used a torch to make dual wheels on the back.
Oh shit.
So they were building it for the dunes out there in California. Wow. So the car ended up somewhere around Dripping Springs, Bama Stamping Ground. Yeah. And he said, look, I'm going to be going to a retirement home or something, assisted living or whatever later on. Not now, but it's headed that way. He goes, Bama said that you would do it. And I said, okay, I want to keep the car. I'm not ever going to crush it. Yeah. But I got the car available right now. If somebody wanted to fix it or finish it, I would give it to him. Right. I told him that I would give him my word as a man not to destroy the car, and that's what he wanted. Yeah. And so we got it sitting up on a Connex box, and I got a lot of people, and I got people that want it, but it's got kind of some cool stuff from back in the day.
It's very
and I can look at you. I don't know. I just feel that I got this gift, and you telling me this, and I see this guy's gonna part it out and do it. He don't give a shit, and I don't want that. I want to. The man's Are you reading my mind, damn it? Yeah.
Rhymes with tacos.
Yeah. So
Yeah, no.
You got to come on, Juan. We're just kicking at you. So.
Juan, I told you, man, you need to come on. One of these days,
you're about one of the best flippers here in town. In a good way, but
Dude,
a bad way.
I've given him, no joke, I've given him probably about 3 car hauler loads of shit that I'm going to build it. it. And then I'll just have one of these things where it's like, dude, just get out of my sight. I don't want to touch it.
Yeah.
You know, at this moment, you know, I've given him, I gave him a Steakley Chevrolet square body truck out of Waco, and I've talked about it where these guys had like the Yanko version of cars that they would order. Well, this truck was a custom one. Man, I gave it to Juan. I said, Juan, I don't want to do no more body work. Take it, you know. He's gotten that. I've given him a bunch of cool stuff, and man, he will find one way or another. Yeah. He will make $1 out of 2 ounces of aluminum, you know.
Sometimes they don't even make it to his house. From your house, it's already stops. Going. Somebody just happened to call him out of the blue.
Yeah.
Juan's got a gift for that. So.
He's great, man. He's great doing. That's why I'm like, Juan, man. You know, you run the swap meet in San Antonio. Yeah. At some point, there's always a connection with what you're doing. Or Eric Starlin. What's up, Eric? They run South Austin swap meets, and recently I'm not big in swap meets, but I can put something together. So I got Oscar out of Taylor putting his stuff. So the 15th guys, Oscar, y'all guys know
in
Taylor, right off of Main Street.
This weekend. Yeah, it's good to go visit the town, even if you're not a good car.
Dude, there's barbecue just two streets down.
Restaurants, home cooking out there, cafes. I mean, there's a lot of things to do other than look at cars.
And this time, like I said, he's gonna bring in the vintage bikes that I got all excited. I actually built a lowrider bike. I was never into lowrider, but I built one, and so I'm gonna showcase that sucker there. But they got a shitload of vintage bikes. Like I said, Eric Starlin, who works with Juan all the time and flipping and bringing in shit to Austin. They're going to be there.
Yeah, on the vintage bike things, I've collected a lot over the years, and I got some. I'd like to give them to you at a time where you could either donate them or give them to somebody for their kids' projects. And they're good. These are rolling bikes right now. They're not junk.
Cool.
You know, and I got stuff if somebody wants to build lowrider bikes or whatever.
Nice. My son would my son wanted to build a, because this one's a girl's frame, and it was a legitimate early 90s lowrider bike, and then somebody lived on the side of the house, from what I understand. And so my son, he freaking blew it apart, cleaned it up, replaced whatever needed replacing, and it's clean. Man, I would have been happy as hell, man, back in 1985, 84, boy, bouncing that front end. But, shit was expensive back then. It still is today.
Yeah, it is.
So, he wanted to build a boy's frame, so maybe we'll go pick you.
I can get them. You can air them, show them, and,
he was
have
also
some kind of contest, but I like for somebody's going to build it not for profit. Somebody, doesn't have access to it and say, hey, I want to build this for my son, or even for themselves that, hey, I've had this dream to have this bike, and I'll give you a couple of them, so.
You're also real big into collecting old pedal. I mean, you collect quite a bunch of cool stuff, but the pedal cards are always your thing.
Bikes, you know.
The pedal cards, like I said earlier, before we got on the show here, I gave you a pedal card that I had found under my dad's mobile home. When he bought it, we didn't know what was down there. It had seashells for covering the mobile home around, but I broke a corner and went down there, and there this thing was, right? It was just missing rubber off one of the wheels. And and I wanted some car parts, so I have no use for this. I like it, but I'm a little older now, you know. So you end up with it, and then later on I'm going through Hot Rod magazine, and this is early 90s. I'm going through that, and there it is, man. Hot Rod sweepstakes giveaway, pedal car from 1956, 7, somewhere around there. And you still have that car.
I still have that car.
Wow.
I think I painted it red, no body work. And I still got the car,
That's cool.
I painted, I was like going to fix it with one of my grandson. I think he's 12 or 11 right now, and that never happened. But
I always wanted to tell you, I said, hey, that's a Hot Rod magazine car.
Yeah. And it's like the treehouse I built for my kids. It's still there at the place. It's 1 2x4 running across the pecan tree. My kids will show their wives. They already got their own grandkids. Look, there's a treehouse my dad built for it. And what happened, I started building for it, and we were doing wrecks.
Yeah.
And I got toned out for an accident, so I had to stop what I was doing, go make the money, pay the bills, you know. But I left that up there, and they all show their friends, cousins. Look, there's a treehouse my dad, one board running across, you know.
Now he'll bend
and I tell him, I'm going to finish it for you one day. So
how old is he now?
He's 29, I think.
Oh, he can still sit on it.
Yeah, I use treated wood.
We can go play with him.
Yeah, it has, what's that bad stuff, that creosote in it?
Shit.
Yeah, it's still holding up. Yeah, the pecan tree will fall out before that will. God damn.
Well, man, we've had a great time.
Man.
How much, man? How long did this go?
Just 2.5. That's
2.5?
Yeah, it could go on for a week and we would keep going.
No,
So we
like I
have
said,
to do a part 2 or something.
There's
a lot of stuff we didn't get into.
That would be the plan, to do a comeback, you know.
Yeah.
Think you can bring Bama out here?
Oh, I can get Bama out here.
He got some cool stuff.
Yeah,
man.
Because he was also on the show too, and
he's always on. He's always on.
So you might have to have one of them buttons to cut him off, because he won't give nobody else to talk.
I don't need to censor him, do I?
Yeah. He'll start foaming at the mouth talking, you know. He won't stop. You know, here, take a drink, Bama.
So, is he a Chevy guy? He's a Mopar guy. Is he a Mopar guy?
He's anything. Hard.
Swap meet dude. Okay.
Yeah, with me. Whatever I got, that's what he's been looking for his whole life. And then he'll get it and sell it, and then I'll have that is the one that I've been looking for.
Yeah, as long as he's area code 512.
Yeah, he's a good guy,
yeah.
Let me tell you real quick, when he first got with his wife, Jamie, he got a 55 Chevrolet, and I was taking, I don't know if I told this story already. So we're pulling up to his house out there in Catman. It's her house, actually. He's living with her. She's pulling up in a Jaguar back then. She's a nurse or something. I can't remember, but she had some outfit on. And I could see her. She's shaking her head. He's like, babe, I can read his lips. And he goes, tell her it's your car. I'm going to keep it for you. So he goes, I got a tarp, and it's in her driveway. And, you know, back then that was a place to live back there.
Cat Hollow.
Cat Hollow. You
Wait,
know.
you talking about Round Rock area or
no, that's
South Austin.
North Austin. North Austin. I
think.
Is it
north? Okay.
Somewhere.
That was that high end neighborhood.
That's where everybody, all the people were somebody. You lived there.
Yeah.
And he's still married to her, so I guess she got over it, or I don't know what happened.
Man, I have memes for days that I'm always pulling, you know, on my wife, because there's always something that I'll drag to the house, and she's like, "Damn, again? What are you gonna do?" I'm gonna fix it. You're gonna fix that thing. It's rusty as shit. And you know, I'm like, you know, so I'll end up, you know. Hey Juan, you want to come pick up some stuff? You know, I'm not gonna fix it.
Yeah, we get back to remind me telling you about Schulenburg for Trash Auto Sales.
Oh shit!
I got a ton of cars. Everybody, I was there. All these rich white guys pulling up in these car haulers back in the early '90s, late '90s.
Shoot.
Oh, this is my nephew. You know, we're gonna go eat. You know, I got into trash, but we'll save that for another time.
Yeah, we're gonna.
I had the run of that yard, and people could tell you.
And you got to bring in Arlie, man, because while you weren't there, Arlie was standing there. So Arlie was like, shoot, let's go.
Arlie, let me tell you real quick. He would borrow one of my round-around motors.
This is brother.
Yeah, that's my brother.
Yeah.
His name's Orlando, but he went by Arlie.
Yeah.
And he said, Steve, let me borrow your motor. I'm going to go race, you know. And found out he was running my motor Decker Lake. And,
on the street.
And he came back. It was in his that's what he was in the Firebirds, you know. So, but he was running Chevrolet motors in them. He said, "We built this motor. Let me go break it in for you."
Oh wow!
So then he came back, and it's on another trailer that we pieced together.
God dang!
And I said, "What happened?" He said, "Man, I didn't get a chance to run it because it started rattling, and I didn't want to mess it up." I said, "Oh, okay, well, good. You saved it."
Yeah.
Then my friend, I think Corey Manchacker or somebody said, "Man, your brother that ran that car like 6 or 7 times, whipping everybody's ass." Making money, then it started knocking on the end because it was leaking oil out of the valve cover. He just kept running instead of adding oil.
He knew that I was good friends with Corey back then. Because Corey, I met Corey, and I don't know if you know Trini from
Trini.
So I've been trying to get Trini to come on, and Trini always like he'll get into something. He's like, oh man, I'm gonna make it.
Yeah, Trini's old school.
But he'll tell me a whole other story on the phone. I'm like, Trini. It's supposed to be on the podcast, man, not on the phone. But I'm gonna get him. But anyway, he was good friends.
Arlie and Trini. That's how I met Trini through Arlie. I met Corey through Arlie. You through Arlie.
So at the same time that I met you, I'm at the junkyard. I'm trying to find a turbo 400 yoke, and Trini, you know, he's the one that knows where it's at.
Yeah, he was a Chevy 2 guy.
So that's where I meet Corey, and then the whole thing turned into drag racing.
Everything falls like dominoes.
And so Arlie obviously was doing the same bullshit.
Yeah, I was doing roundy round, and he was running
street
them.
racing.
Yeah.
You never got me to do roundy round, man. But I swear, I slept in bed. I'm like, should I do that? Should I build a freaking roundy? It's not. It don't look that bad. I mean, all you gotta do is do an impact wrench on the cylinder heads.
Yeah, we did whatever it did to make, and we did a lot of demolition derby.
Demolition derby. See, that's what was making me nervous.
We had 8 cars in one night, and all my friends, hey, I want to do. Hey, well, come on, we
got a car for you.
Paint it, and then we only had one trailer, my homemade trailer. So I said, well, what are we gonna do? I said, well, goddamn, we're just driving down the road. Said the police are gonna stop us. I said, no, my dad already called the sheriff buddies and told them we're gonna be out there to don't stop us. You know, because my dad would,
Of course,
we're gonna be out on Garfield, Del Valley.
They know.
Yeah, just turn your eyes the other way.
Just go the other way.
Yeah, and then I would have my friend that was crushing for me. He'd go out there with his loader and bring the 18-wheeler, and we'd just put him straight on the trailer. Hey, what are you gonna do with your car, Paul? I'm done with it. Well, we're gonna take it. Everything went. So.
So for all you no prep racers out there today, modern racing. Like I said, we back in the day had a bunch of connections, and we knew how to keep it out in the woods.
We weren't ordering $100 parts. We were getting stuff out of the junkyard, grinding on heads.
We had CB radio to radio up ahead. And it was fun.
People would come to my machine shop. I had an air filer with 36 grit sandpaper on it, smooth his head out for me.
Get that high spot out there.
That's what we did back in the day. It worked,
That's crazy.
Yeah. All they need, just get a thicker head gasket.
So man, you gotta get Arlie. Tell him to come out here the next time.
Man, it was fun. It was a blast. I had a pleasure meeting you. And
I enjoyed it. I've never done a podcast before. I didn't even know what it was. I was calling it the wrong thing. My kids just said, "No, this is what it was. Look this up."
It's an online.
Just audio.
Audio. It's audio, and then with YouTube, you just managed to put it on both, and people. Man. That's how people. You know what? This is how kids watch TV today. They don't watch They don't watch cable TV. I don't even catch my kids doing Netflix. It's all YouTube. Short skit films, whatever they call it. And so anybody that wants to do something, because they're not even going to listen to the radio anymore. They don't. They just it's
they're streaming, man.
They listen. They stream all this shit through the internet. So that's why we're doing it.
Yeah, but I enjoyed it. Thank y'all for inviting me. I got to go. My beepers have been going off.
Your
I got it on silence. I got to see who's calling me. Some of my old friends.
I got a dial-up phone.
Some of my old friends. I got that big Motorola box with hooked up with jumper cables.
The one that's on the console, right?
That big radiation sign on the side of it. I don't know what that's for.
Dude, that dually, man. That dually of yours, Juan's brother actually managed to turn that thing into my driveway on Ultra. You know how short that goes. Man, he cut that sucker sideways. I seen that wheel, jump up, and they made it though. They parked, and hey, you here? I'm like, I'm here. Goddamn, it's a long ass boat. But I remember that truck, man. Like it was yesterday. It's funny, man. Thanks a lot, man. Thanks for being here.
Appreciate it, guys. And like I said, thanks again. And we're gonna do a part 2. Bring your brother. Bring anybody you want to bring on. Bama. We're here. Just have fun. Bullshit. For me, Paul, Steve, appreciate it again. Catch us on the next episode. We'll be a couple weeks.
We'll put the photos on YouTube so you can see what we're talking about too.
And until next time, guys. Y'all guys, peace out. We're out.
Peace out.
All right, thank you. All right.